Don't be fooled by the fact that all three of their fathers have cold resistance level cultivation. Important resources like the 100 forged level saber aren't something you can obtain easily, let alone the highly strategic resource of the 100 forged battle armor. The three broke through to the earth-digging realm just half a year ago, and although they've already joined the hunting team and amassed considerable wealth, it's not like they could have easily switched to the 100 forged great blade. The issue is that 100 forged level weapons aren't cabbages. Even if the craftsman department forges them, it takes time. Every batch sent to the camp supply department is immediately snapped up, leading to a supply shortage. To deal with this situation, the camp supply department has had to establish a rule prioritizing those with higher basic strength for exchange. So even now, none of the three have gotten hold of the 100 forged great blade. As for the battle armor, don't even think about it. If not for this haul from Longyu, not even all members of the Cloud Dragon army have been fully equipped, let alone individuals like them. This time, 7,000 of them have been dispatched to garrison the Beehive and engage in a bitter struggle with the Longyu army. The 2,500 sets of war armor and numerous weapons captured in Longyu earlier are naturally put to use, but with so many people, they can only be distributed based on cultivation level. The basic strengths of the three are only a little over 18,000, so battle armor is out of the question. Finally, Zhu Kang and Hong Yu each received a 100 forged great blade, and Meng Ao, due to his decent archery, was given a strong bow of 30 stone strength. This 30 stone strong bow, I alone can't. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Meng Ao was about to speak when he was suddenly interrupted by a rustling noise outside the iron wall. At first, he thought he misheard, but when he looked up, he found that both Hong Yu and Zhu Kang had stopped to look at the iron wall too. Did you hear that too? Heard it, sounds like something's gnawing. Gnawing? Impossible, there's an iron wall here. Meng Ao frowned, and after the three exchanged glances, they walked up to the iron wall and pressed their ears against it, closing their eyes to listen closely. Squeak, squeak, squeak. No mistake, there really is a sound. After stepping back, the three of them had noticeably grimmer expressions. This sound seems a bit familiar. Just over 3 meters away. Damn, it's the sound of long-tailed rodents. The cold beast record mentions that their teeth are sharper than iron, and they gnaw incredibly quickly. Zhu Kang suddenly realized and exclaimed in alarm. Hong Yu, quickly notify the surrounding people to gather. Meng Ao, go inform Uncle Meng and have him urgently report to the minister that cold beasts are here. The more than 5,000 people responsible for patrolling the main areas surrounding bulwarks are divided into 3 sections. The 1,700 on the southwestern side are under the command of Meng Ao's father, Meng Yi, which is why Zhu Kang instructed Meng Ao to inform Meng Yi. Everyone come over, gather quickly. Hong Yu immediately started calling people over to gather, while Meng Ao turned and went to find his father Meng Yi to report the situation. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Zhu Kang continued to press against the iron wall, listening to the sounds from outside, and noticing the noises approaching faster, his expression grew increasingly grave. At this critical moment, how could there be long-tailed rodents? Long Mountain can even control cold beasts to help break the iron wall. How is that possible? Hong Yu moved swiftly. In just a few breaths, the hundreds of earth-digging realm responsible for patrolling the area had all gathered, everyone nervously watching the iron wall as they waited for dozens of breaths. Meng Ao had also returned with his father Meng Yi, who had a gloomy expression. Uncle Meng. There's no need for formalities, did you hear it here too? Zhu Kang saw Meng Yi and immediately prepared to bow out of respect, but before he could do so, Meng Yi interrupted him. Did you hear it too? Noticing the word too, Zhu Kang's expression immediately tensed. It's not just this location. Meng Yi didn't wait for a response and immediately walked over to press his ear against the iron wall. After listening for a moment, his already unpleasant expression became even grimmer. It's a long-tailed rodent. Judging by the gnawing speed, it must be a low-level one. That Long Mountain can control cold beasts. How is that even possible? Uncle Meng, is it not just this area being gnawed by rodents? Unable to contain his curiosity, Zhu Kang asked directly. Meng Yi nodded at his words and spoke seriously. Around the main area's 4 corner bastions, 6 locations have already heard the sound. You are the 7th. Long Mountain can truly control cold beasts. This completely defies reason. How can it be? Bang! While Zhu Kang and the others wondered in shock and uncertainty, a massive silver object fell from above the structures of the main area, hitting the ground with a thunderous crash. Guard this spot. As soon as the rodents show their heads, slay them immediately. With his expression drastically changed, Meng Yi ordered everyone, then led a dozen people rushing towards the architectural area. That's definitely a long-tailed rodent, right? Absolutely, silver fur and fleshy tail. A rodent has already breached the barrier. So, the Long Yu army can break in at any moment. Zhu Kang, Meng Ao, Hong Yu, and the surrounding hundreds of earth-digging realm all had their expressions become significantly grimmer. With a slash. Beneath the main area's architecture, the scurrying rodent was decapitated by Xia Chuan, splattering pale green blood everywhere. However, after slaying the rodent, Xia Chuan's face showed no trace of joy. Instead, he looked up at the large hole above, his expression exceedingly serious. Mu Dong, can you patch this hole up in a short period? No way, such a large hole would require at least hundreds of thousands of caddies of molten iron, which can't be produced quickly. Then there's no way around it. Han Guang, take 500 people to watch this hole. As soon as the Long Yu army comes in, engage immediately and use a whistle to call for backup if needed. Chapter 737, Chapter 300, Perseverance, Beast Tide Breaks the Barrier Part 4. At your command. Xia Chuan turned to sweep his gaze across the crowd and continued shouting, Meng Yi. I'm here. Meng Yi hurriedly came from the periphery and immediately responded upon hearing his name. How many places on your side have detected the movements of long-tailed rodents? 2. I've already sent people to stake out nearby. Upon hearing Meng Yi's reply, Xia Chuan's expression immediately turned extremely gloomy. 2 in the southwest direction, 3 in the north, 3 in the southeast. That adds up to 8, and these 8 are just the ones heard. Xuanling's impact has yet to be heard. The entire main zone space reverberates thunderously. Surely there are many more places where long-tailed rodents are gnawing that they cannot detect. 2 hours ago, Zhu Yuan from the north reported that they heard the sound of long-tailed rodents gnawing. He thought it was an isolated incident. After all, this is underground, and it's not uncommon for 1 or 2 long-tailed rodents to occasionally appear. But subsequently, Hang Tian from the southeast, Meng Yi from the southwest also heard the same sound and increasingly more of it. Only then did Xia Chuan link the appearance of long-tailed rodents with the outside Long Yu army. Long Mountain is actually using long-tailed rodents to assist in breaching the wall. He just realized why Li Xuanling keeps hitting the barrier incessantly. She is doing so to cover the sound of long-tailed rodents gnawing on the barriers. The question is, how is Long Mountain controlling the rodents? Cold beasts can at most chase or hunt. Even if Long Mountain finds a way to drive one rodent towards the barrier, it's not a given that it will obey orders to gnaw the iron wall surrounding the beehive. Moreover, it's not just one rodent at the moment, but clearly a group, and they're chomping from different directions inward. How did Long Mountain accomplish this? Minister, look, mist is entering through the big hole. At this moment, Meng Yi noticed something and suddenly pointed at the big hole above, shouting urgently. Xia Chuan lifted his head to look, his brows instantly furrowed. The big hole above, just gnawed open by long-tailed rodents, indeed had a thick frostwhite mist frantically pouring in. This is. Everyone, including Xia Chuan, was perplexed upon seeing the mist. Only Chen Yingyuan's expression froze briefly before his face transformed in alarm as he quickly approached Xia Chuan's ear to whisper to him. Xia Chuan's expression changed repeatedly. Then after only pondering for a moment, he issued orders to Chen Yingyuan. Tell Yuan Cheng not to bother with the main entrance anymore. All cold resistance level individuals should start patrolling all areas of the main zone. Whenever rodent movements are heard, send people to stake out nearby. Once the rodents gnaw through the barrier, kill them immediately, then continue to guard the hole. Don't let Long Mountain's people come in. At your command. After bowing in salute, Chen Yingyuan quickly ran towards the direction of the main zone's main entrance. Xia Chuan remained where he was, gazing at the big hole above, his eyes full of solemnity. Long-tailed rodents, Great Xia was not unfamiliar with them. Before the Yuan year, a group had appeared on the north slope of the mountain wall. Rodents generally live in tribes, rarely appearing singly or in pairs. This means that the rodents gnawing the outer iron wall now could very well be numerous. Considering Great Xia's current strength, a mere rodent group is nothing to worry about. Even if there are intermediate or even advanced rodent kings among them, he does not fear them. The problem is, behind the rodent group is the Longyu army. Using deceitful means to break the iron wall, my big brother was right, Li Xuanling, that madwoman will really resort to anything. Standing still, Xia Chuan showed a mixed expression for a long time before finally raising his eyes to look at the big hole above, a glint of cold light crossing his gaze. Bang, bangs, bang. Sure enough, within the subsequent hours, the entire main zone began to activate a mode full of holes. One long-tailed rodent after another broke through the iron wall, either from above, from the side, or drilled into the main zone from underground. Fortunately, the rodents coming in now were all low-level. As long as there was a cold resistance level nearby, they would die as soon as they showed themselves. Even if there was no cold resistance level, they would soon be hunted by earth-digging realm individuals staking out nearby. Thus went by more than 3 hours. The northern top cracked open another big hole, and after the rodents falling from the hole were slaughtered, Xia Chuan brought Chen Yingyuan over immediately. Minister, it's the 37th hole now. Less than 200 people are guarding one hole, and cold resistance level is even less sufficient. If we continue dividing the soldiers, we'll truly fall into Li Xuanling's trap. Hearing Chen Yingyuan's words, Xia Chuan's face was full of irritation. Li Xuanling might be watching us from outside one of the holes right now. Once the number of troops in the main zone becomes too sparse, she will immediately lead the Longyu army to charge down through a chosen hole, by which time we'll gather too slowly, getting attacked one by one. Not only Chen Yingyuan, but Yue Feng also saw through Li Xuanling's strategy at this moment. In 3 hours, the number of holes gnawed open by long-tailed rodents steadily increased. Now it was as high as 37, yet Long Mountain had not sent in a single person. Because the holes were too small, each hole had a diameter of only half a meter, allowing only one person at a time to descend. Li Xuanling knows they are outside the holes prepared for any attack, whether it be soldiers or cold resistance level individuals. If they descend one by one, the casualties would definitely be significant. Therefore, she isn't hurried to have them descend. She continues controlling the long-tailed rodents to gnaw holes, all to make Great Xia soldiers continually divide forces. As long as they divide enough to where Great Xia's guarding forces are increasingly spread, then when Long Mountain sends people down, the pressure they face would be greatly reduced, and it won't be so difficult to secure a foothold. Or wait until more and more holes are opened, allowing batches to leap down from so many holes simultaneously, which is also a solution. I understand, but forming up all the defense forces right now would mean completely allowing them entry. Let's wait some more, wait a bit longer. I don't believe Li Xuanling can hold back. She should be sending people down now. Since Chen Yingyuan and Yue Feng could see it, how could Xia Chuan not? Early on, when the rodents had gnawed open the 20th hole, while Long Mountain hadn't yet sent anyone down, Xia Chuan had already seen through Li Xuanling's intention. The problem was that seeing through it didn't help. The holes gnawed open by rodents were simply too dispersed. Once you gather the forces, it equates to abandoning surveillance of a large number of holes. At that time, Li Xuanling would pick one of the holes farthest from the forces, letting the Longyu army in. By then they might as well think of blocking them again. It wouldn't be possible. So he's gambling that Li Xuanling can't hold back. With now fewer than 200 people guarding each hole, Li Xuanling might decide to bring cold resistance level individuals down first to risk holding them back, creating a descent window for the Longyu army. As long as she does that, he can still rapidly gather forces to block them. Bang, bangs, bang. Yet another 3 sounds of holes breaking open rang through, still with no news of Long Mountain soldiers coming into the entire main zone. They should only be able to use the white mist to lure the long-tailed rodents to the iron walls here, unable to control these rodents to gnaw over there. Unless the barriers are completely broken or our people are too scattered, Li Xuanling wouldn't urgently come in. She will sooner or later come in, but once we disperse too much. Even though Yue Feng didn't finish his words, Xia Chuan understood his meaning. Li Xuanling will come in sooner or later, but if she comes when their side is too dispersed, then their advantage as defenders is lost. In fact, Long Mountain could potentially win in one fell swoop. It's not out of the question. Gather all the forces back to the building zone, ready bows and arrows. All cold resistance levels follow me to continue surveilling all holes. Kill as many as we can. Xia Chuan no longer hesitated, directly shouting angrily, signaling all cold resistance levels to lead the army and retreating back to the building zone to assemble. It's probably already the late night of the 5th day in July now. I originally thought this barrier could hold Long Mountain off for at least 5 days. Unexpectedly, it was broken in 2 days. Let them come in then. 3,000 Long Yu army. I'll see just how strong they really are. Watching everyone swiftly retreat to the building zone, Xia Chuan's expression slightly tensed. Once the army was gathered, many whole perimeters naturally became unguarded, and the Long Yu army entering was only a matter of time. But he still didn't idle, instead leading a group of cold resistance level individuals, continuing in groups of 5 to surveil all the holes, on guard for Long Mountain, sending people covertly clear in while their forces were gathered. Dragging it out is correct. This is only the 2nd day, keep dragging it. Chapter 738, Chapter 301, Long Mountain marches in, defying the enemy to the death. Xia Chuan's strategy to delay time did not last long. As he said, the moment he ordered the garrison to gather in the building area, it was equivalent to letting the people from Long Mountain come down. The garrison gathered in less than half an hour. Bang! Xia Dog, prepare to die. At the southwest corner, Mengyi, who was patrolling the entrance of the cave, was just startled by the noise from a cave entrance at his right rear side. Before he could turn around to look, a terrifying blade slashed fiercely from behind. Word! Someone's coming down. Mengyi was the first to shout a warning to others, then drew his sword to block the attack. Clang! The broadsword slashed on his back, and the violent collision made Mengyi's hands bleed from the force, pushing his body forward by more than 10 meters. His strength is more than twice mine. I can't beat him. Mengyi was among the first group of people in Great Xia to break through to the cold resistance level. Although he had mid-stage cold resistance cultivation thanks to the Yangyuan pill provided by Xia Hong, his basic strength was just over 3 maned. After withstanding that strike, he immediately realized that the person behind him was far superior in strength, and he couldn't win without any aid. Simultaneously, he turned and ran towards the main area of the building group as he was knocked away. Xia Dog, prepare to die. Prepare to die. The proof showed his judgment was correct. Not only here at the southwest corner, but from all directions in the main area, came one curse after another from the Long Mountain cold resistance level, clearly indicating that members of the Long Mountain cold resistance level had scattered and come down from various unguarded cave entrances. The entire main area was a mere 3 kilometers in diameter, and the commotion from cold resistance level confrontations was indeed astonishing. The scolding was followed by the ground trembling continuously, with the sounds of battle echoing from various places. Thinking hiding underground will make you safe, let's see now, where else can you shrink to? Li Chuanling's low and angry voice resounded throughout the main area. Bang, bangs, bang. Then came the sound of descending one after another, showing that soldiers of the Long Yu army were entering the main area through the cave openings broken open by rodents. Release arrows. As soon as Mengyi hurried back to the building area from the southwest corner, he heard a loud shout from Xia Chuan on the north side, followed by continuous sounds of arrows being shot. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Rushing towards the north area, Mengyi found that 200 to 300 meters away from the building area, several hundred Long Yu soldiers had come down, the front lined with Li Xuanling and 7 or 8 cold resistance level individuals, while Xia Chuan was retreating with Yuan Cheng, Yue Feng, and Zhu Yuan towards the back of the building area. The great Xia garrison on the northern outskirts was frantically shooting arrows at the Long Yu soldiers. Unlike the Cloud Dragon Army or Long Yu Army, these soldiers were shooting arrows using a combined force of 2 or 3 people. Mengyi just glanced in the direction of those several hundred Long Yu soldiers and immediately turned with anxiety to order his own army. Front troops halt, rear troops continue shooting arrows, alternate and retreat quickly. In the beehive, the basic strength of Great Xia's earth-digging realm was below 30,000 pounds, hence requiring 2 or 3 people to draw the bow, which made both accuracy and shooting speed inferior to the opposing Long Yu army. Indeed, under Li Xuanling's command, Long Yu soldiers also began shooting arrows. Thump, thumpy, thump. Standing at a high vantage point, Mengyi could clearly see that, although there were only a few hundred Long Yu soldiers, the arrow casualties they inflicted were much greater than those by Great Xia. Minister, there are fewer than 2,000 garrison troops on the northern outskirts. It's impossible to hold them off. We can only win by concentrating our forces. Retreat first. Zhu Yuan, lead the army and retreat. Meng Yi, prepare at the main building. Xia Chuan had already retreated to the front of the army, continually cutting down the arrows shot by Long Yu soldiers with Yuan Cheng and the other two. Hearing Meng Yi's words, he responded without hesitation. The 5,000 garrison troops on the outskirts were divided into three groups, led by Meng Yi, Zhu Yuan, and Hong Tian respectively. Since the northern side was led by Zhu Yuan, Xia Chuan designated Zhu Yuan to handle the army's retreat. That Meng Yi could arrive from the southwest side proves the pressure there wasn't significant, so Xia Chuan naturally assigned him the task of preparing at the main building. Zhu Yuan moved swiftly, quickly returning to the rear, leading the army in an alternating retreat. His command significantly increased the retreat speed. Meng Yi, without delay, immediately turned and ran toward the main building. The underground main area of the beehive was a circular region with a diameter of 3 kilometers, with the buildings radiating outward from the central main building, covering 90% of the circular area, leaving less than 300 meters of open space in the perimeter. The Great Xia Northern Garrison had just retreated from the outskirts. They were initially shooting with their backs against the building group, thus turned around quickly and returned inside the building group. Seeing the Great Xia Northern Army retreat, leaving dozens of corpses on the ground uncollected, Li Xuanling directly raised her hand, signaling the army behind her to halt. All our ordinary earth-digging realm, what is Great Xia up to? Meng Ying approached, clutching a handful of iron arrows shot by Xia army. Hearing this, Li Xuanling furrowed her brows. As their arrow-shooting method was not only noticed by Meng Ying, she saw it too. What's so strange? Great Xia has more than 10,000 garrison troops. First, they use these ordinary earth-digging realm to deplete our fighting strength, and then when we're weakened enough, they'll use the Cloud Dragon army against us. That's the idea Xia Hong is plotting, isn't it? As Li Xuanping spoke, those around him all showed expressions of agreement. Chapter 739, Chapter 301, Long Mountain marches in, defying the enemy to the death. However, Meng Ying immediately shook his head and said, "The north side is our main offensive direction. The entrance is too small. We've only managed to bring in over 600 people so far, while the Cloud Dragon army easily has over 1,000. If Xia Hong personally leads the army to press up against us and block us, it shouldn't be difficult." Everyone wasn't foolish and quickly understood the meaning behind Meng Ying's words. If 3,000 Long Yu army attacked simultaneously, then Li Xuanping's guess would indeed be reasonable. After all, Great Xia's advantage is sheer numbers. Sending out ordinary earth-digging realm soldiers to deplete their forces, and finally having the Cloud Dragon army intervene, would certainly increase their chances of victory significantly. The problem is, the Long Yu army isn't attacking simultaneously. They're coming in sequentially from each entrance. The north side entrance, being the furthest from the building complex and larger than the others, can accommodate 2 people at once. That's why Li Xuanling designated it as the main attack point, bringing in a large number of soldiers through it. Yet despite this, in the past 10 minutes or so, they've only managed to get in over 600 soldiers. Even with this small number, if Xia Hong were to bring the Cloud Dragon army up now, he would likely be able to block them. Not to mention, at the start of the battle, they didn't even have this many people in. If Xia Hong brought his army over back then, it would have been even easier to block the entrance. Therefore, Li Xuanping's speculation that Xia Hong was using ordinary earth-digging realm soldiers to exhaust their forces clearly doesn't hold water. Enough, whatever tricks Xia Hong is playing, Great Xia is bound to lose today. Have the soldiers accelerate their entry. You go inform the others. Have all soldiers quickly gather on the north side and prepare to siege immediately. Li Xuanling directly interrupted the speculations, giving orders to gather. Several cold resistance level officers immediately dispersed towards the outskirts of the building complex to notify soldiers coming through other entrances to converge here. Li Xuanling turned her head to gaze at the building complex, her brows furrowed. She couldn't understand either why the Cloud Dragon army wasn't coming to block them, but dispersing the army through multiple entrances at the same time was an open tactic. Even if Xia Hong came to block them, a massive number of soldiers would still come down through other entrances. Have they figured it out, knowing they can't stop us from coming down no matter what? so they're gathering all the defensive troops to prepare for a final stand. Li Xuanling pondered for a moment, turning to look around the battlefield. She saw only 3 corpses of Long Yu soldiers lying on the ground, with just over a dozen wounded, causing a faint cold smile to curl up on her lips. During the initial exchange of arrows, they shot 6 to 70 people of Great Xia, with hundreds wounded, while they only lost 3 lives and had over a dozen wounded. This was the absolute dominating effect of the Long Yu army face-to-face with ordinary earth-digging realm soldiers. Even if you have over 10,000 people, you've got less than 1,000 Cloud Dragon army. The other 9,000 are nothing but rabble before my Long Yu army. Despite how many tricks or schemes you have, you'll never make up for this massive gap in strength. If you refuse to leave Long Yu, then leave your life here for me. With repeated clashes with Xia Hong ending mostly in defeat, a proud person like Li Xuanling could naturally not accept it. Now that she finally saw a chance for a great victory, her spirits were inevitably uplifted a lot. The main district spans only about a 3-kilometer radius. The Long Yu soldiers coming down from the peripheral entrances quickly gathered on the north side under the guidance of cold resistance level officers. Li Xuanling looked at the cold resistance levels in front, counted 51 of them, confirming none were missing, and her expression lightened significantly. Xia Hong's strength is formidable. Great Xia has many cold resistance levels as well. Her biggest worry was having the army split into multiple groups coming down through multiple entrances at once, fearing someone might run into Xia Hong or the main force of Great Xia, causing casualties among the cold resistance levels. Luckily, none did, and it seemed the army came down smoothly as well. What about the casualties among the soldiers? He had already taken count on the way, 12 dead, 21 wounded. Great Xia doesn't seem to have organized any significant resistance. Out of a total of 13 groups, none encountered Xia Hong. 4 groups encountered Great Xia's defenders, who were just ordinary earth-digging realm soldiers. They held out for a while before retreating into the building complex. The main force of the Cloud Dragon army has yet to appear. It was Cheng Guang who spoke, not only carefully counting the number of soldiers, but also summarizing the encounters of the 13 groups of soldiers post-descent. Enemy casualties. Cheng Guang's expression perked up, quickly responding. We didn't count precisely, but after a rough estimate, we've killed at least over 300, with even more wounded. Upon hearing this, the cold resistance levels of Long Mountain were filled with exhilaration. To penetrate the main district with such minor casualties showcases the strength of the Long Yu army. Big Brother, Second Brother, Third Brother organized the army to advance. Xu Wenping, Xuanqiu, Meng Ying, Cheng Guang, Jiang Ping, Sun Yan, Song Kang, follow me in to scout the situation in the building complex to see what Great Xia is up to. At your command. With Li Xuanling's order, she pointed out the 7 stronger cold resistance levels and headed directly towards the building complex, while the remaining cold resistance levels quickly organized under Li Xuanyin's trio to prepare for the assault on the building area. The perimeter of the main district is not large, and after walking just over 100 meters, Li Xuanling and her group of 8 entered the building area. Sensing no presence of a Great Xia defender, they directly charged towards the main building. Did they tear down so many buildings? The torn parts were all metal components. They must have set up barricades in the inner area. Great Xia intends to band together for a last stand. Chapter 740, Chapter 301, Long Mountain enters, resists the enemy to the death. Entering the construction area, everyone immediately noticed that the 9-story buildings on both sides were almost all dismantled, with the removal mainly focused on beams and pillars, including the reinforced parts at the eaves. Look ahead by the main building. They've already erected an iron wall. Just as Meng Ying speculated on Great Xia's intentions, Li Xuanling at the forefront was already pointing in the direction of the main building, signaling everyone to look over there. Everyone looked up, momentarily stunned. 300 to 400 meters ahead, there was a barricade made of numerous iron implements, standing 7 or 8 meters high. Li Xuanling led the group to the top of a nearby building, and after looking over, they realized that the imitated barricade completely surrounded the main building, creating a circular space with a radius of 500 meters inside. Are they crazy trying to block us with this? Cheng Guang's eyes filled with incredulity as he spoke, and everyone soon laughed coldly. The outer barricade of the hive main zone could stop them first because all the iron walls were underground, making it hard to exert force to break through. and secondly due to its thickness. Over 10 meters of iron wall couldn't be breached even by the strongest like Li Xuanling in a short time without heavy equipment. But what was this barricade in front of them? Beams, planks, pillars, tubes. It's just a pile of building materials pieced together. Calling it a barricade would be an overstatement. They didn't even need those of cold resistance level to step in. This heap of scrap metal couldn't even stop small groups of Longyu army soldiers. The Xia army has been spotted. Meng Ying, notify the main army to advance quickly. Upon Li Xuanling's order, Meng Ying quickly turned and went to notify the rear army. Any member of the ice abyss in the earth-digging realm, unless under special circumstances, must have been in the hunting team, having fought beasts in the wilderness, making their individual soldiers and small-scale combat capabilities extremely formidable. Even regular earth-digging realm soldiers were like this. There's no need to mention the Longyu army soldiers who, at the minimum, had cultivation at the earth-digging realm limit. Great Xia's forces might be many, but their average cultivation level and equipment were lacking too much. Giving up small-scale urban warfare in the building cluster with the Longyu army was undoubtedly wise. But precisely because of this wisdom, the Longyu army didn't have to worry at all about ambushes appearing within the building cluster. Li Xuanling and the six next to her could already see behind the barricade, under the main building, the cluster of thousands of Xia soldiers. After Meng Ying left, she continued to lead the six forward to further investigate the situation of the Great Xia defense. 5,000 or more, the total should be around 6,000. There should still be some inside the main building, but it's too far to detect the strength. The front row of more than 2,000, their war armor and weapons are of 100 forged level, but the colors are varied, light gold for Great Xia's own, black for what they took from our Long Mountain, red for what they captured from the Blood Guard army, and the batch ready to be sent to White Abyss last time, so these should be the Cloud Dragon army and Great Xia's main force, right? No. Great Xia wiped out the two Longyu armies with 800 new sets. They captured at least 2,500 sets of 100 forged armor, plus 1,000 from the Cloud Dragon army. They should have at least 3,500 people wearing 100 forged armor. Here are just over 2,000. The Cloud Dragon army hasn't come out yet. Not out, still inside the main building. You can see shadows of people in the main building. There must be a large force there. Keep moving forward until we can sense their strength. Li Xuanling cut off everyone's guesses with a direct order and led the way forward until they were just a few meters away from the barricade, precisely about 200 meters from the inner Great Xia defenders. No, these are all regular earth-digging realm. The Cloud Dragon army hasn't come out yet. Sensing the general cultivation of the front row defenders, Li Xuanling frowned, and the ones wearing 10 forged level behind were even less worth considering. This meant the Cloud Dragon army was still hiding in the main building. This Xia Hong, truly calm under pressure. Not just Xia Hong, even these cold resistance level of Great Xia are calm under pressure. The front line was held by mere soldiers, and it seems none of them are present. Step. Ceasing their reconnaissance in less than 100 breaths, 3,000 well-prepared Longyu soldiers marched in from the rear. Everyone draw bows. Draw bows. The moment Longyu army entered the Great Xia defense's line of sight, the voices of Meng Yi on the inside and Li Xuanyin's command outside nearly echoed simultaneously. Zizla. The 6,000 Xia soldiers inside and 3,000 Longyu army outside simultaneously drew their strong bows to a full moon state, and the tight creaking sound of countless bowstrings instantly reverberated throughout the main zone, inside and out. The atmosphere became tense in an instant, as if the frontline soldiers of both sides could stare through the barricade into each other's murderous eyes. Why hasn't Xia Hong come out yet? The two armies were less than 300 meters apart, nearly within each other's range. However, not only had Xia Hong, the leader, not appeared from Great Xia's side, none of the cold resistance level was present either, only a few on the outskirts. Li Xuanling's heart skipped a beat, having finally sensed something amiss. But with arrows on the strings, it was necessary to release. No matter how off it seemed, she had to lead the Longyu army forward at this moment. Release arrows. At Li Xuanling's command, the taut bowstrings of the 3,000 Longyu army released in unison. Swish. Swish. Release arrows. Meng Yi, situated beneath the main building, shouted in synchrony with Li Xuanling. Consequently, the The 6,000-strong Great Xia defense also nearly synchronized their movements with the Longyu army, releasing their bowstrings almost simultaneously. The volley of arrows exchanged through the air. The fierce momentum of the 30-stone-strong bows stirred up a storm within the main zone. But anyone observant would notice that the number of iron arrows released by Great Xia was noticeably fewer than that of the Longyu army. Chapter 741, Chapter 301, Long Mountain marches in, defying the enemy to the death. Pache. The range of an iron bow is generally within 200 meters, but what is being referred to is the precise range, not that it can only be shot within 200 meters. A 30-stone-strong bow can shoot nearly 400 meters at most, but beyond 200 meters, not only does the hit rate decline, but the force also decreases significantly. Therefore, during hunting or small-scale skirmishes, archers would keep the distance within 200 meters, or even closer to ensure accuracy. But at this moment, this obviously does not apply. In a confrontation between two armies, the ones who close the distance first are at a disadvantage. This is why Li Xuanling ordered the soldiers to shoot at a distance of 300 meters. Additionally, she observed that the Great Xia soldiers needed to work together to draw their bows, so both their shooting speed and accuracy were inferior to the Longyu army. Although the iron arrows would lose force at 300 meters, the front row soldiers surely couldn't dodge them. To avoid hindering the rear soldiers from shooting, anyone injured in the front row would immediately retreat to the back, allowing others to step forward and continue shooting. As expected by Li Xuanling, the Xia army's shooting speed and accuracy were far inferior to the Longyu soldiers. After continuous exchanges of arrow formations, the Xia army suffered far more casualties than their own, and there were signs of a gradual retreat. Great Xia was prepared. Their supply of iron arrows is greater than ours. We must press forward before they exhaust their arrows and reach the fortifications. Understood. After Li Xuanling commanded Li Xuanyan, she directly drew her longsword and sharply addressed the 7 cold resistance-level individuals beside her. Prepare to charge with me. At your command. Li Xuanping, Li Xuanqiu, Meng Ying, Cheng Guang, Zhang Ping, Sun Yan, and Song Kang simultaneously answered in a deep voice, quickly drawing their weapons and looking toward the Xia army. Li Xuanyan, Li Xuanchen, and Li Xuandu still had to command the troops, so these 7 were the strongest among the cold resistance level of Long Mountain, all possessing at least 9 main strength. Facing the arrow formation for over 10 seconds wouldn't be a problem, as long as they could break through Great Xia's arrow formation and allow the rear Longyu army to move up. The outcome of this great battle would be predictable. Li Xuanling continued forward with the 7, her gaze fixed on the side's Longyu army soldiers' arrow quivers. When she discovered there were only about 3 or 4 iron arrows left in the quivers, she immediately shouted, "Charge the formation." Zio! The 8 cold resistance level individuals charged forward, almost directly against the Xia army's arrow formation, their weapons weaving shadows that deflected countless iron arrows. They directly shattered the makeshift metal barriers, rapidly closing the distance to less than 100 meters from the Xia army. Longyu army, abandon your bows, charge with the leader. Li Xuanyan's voice suddenly boomed from the rear. As the command echoed, regardless of whether their arrows had run out, all 3,000 Longyu soldiers immediately discarded their iron bows and arrow quivers, retrieving long spears from their backs, and charged fiercely toward the main building. Longyu army unstoppable. Longyu army unstoppable. Kill! Kill! Death! The 3,000-strong army at the earth-digging realm limit roared as they charged forward. There was no need to consider the so-called pressure. Just from the tremors throughout the hive main zone, one could glimpse their momentum. The soldiers' roars caused the earth to tremble unceasingly, and the already dismantled buildings in the construction area began to collapse repeatedly, either from the vibrations or from the air currents created by the charging army. Hong. The soldiers on Great Xia's side were actually intimidated by the Longyu army's momentum. They had indeed prepared a far greater number of iron arrows than the Longyu army, so when the opponents finished shooting and advanced, they continued to shoot. But the momentum of the Longyu army was too terrifying, causing some to be briefly stunned, disrupting their shooting rhythm. Don't be afraid, hold your ground, keep shooting. With a single glance, Meng Yi could tell the situation from the change in the number of arrows in the rain and immediately roared in anger, signaling everyone not to panic and to continue shooting. He didn't just shout suggestions to the army. He wasn't idle himself. The three-main strong bow in his hand was almost sparking, as iron arrows frantically flew toward Li Xuanling and the 7 others charging forward. Of course, it wasn't just him. Zhu Yuan and Hong Tian were also in action. The 3 commanding soldiers were all equipped with a 3-main strong bow, and at this moment, each was continuously drawing their bowstrings, trying to prevent Li Xuanling and the others from approaching the formation. Keng. Unfortunately, the power of the 8 was simply too strong. Especially Li Xuanling, she was unafraid of the arrow rain from the great Xia defenders. Even the arrows from Meng Yi and the other 2 didn't faze her. With a silver longsword in hand, she swung repeatedly, slicing down countless arrows, and was now within the last dozen meters from the Xia army. Xia Hong, are you still not showing yourself? Having charged to this position, without seeing Xia Hong, Li Xuanling realized something at that moment, her mind going blank. Her expression gradually turned furious, and his killing intent towards the Xia army before her grew to an extreme. Xiu. With the raging power of 21 manes infused, the silver longsword's blade nearly materialized, abruptly slashing toward the foremost Xia army. Su. Since Li Xuanling and her group charged, the Xia army's target had shifted from the Longyu army to them. The problem was the 8 were so powerful that the arrows from the front couldn't inflict much damage even if they hit. As for Li Xuanling, the strongest among them, she was simply untouchable, as any arrow rain heading her way was effortlessly deflected by her longsword. As Li Xuanling charged, the front Xia army had already laid down their longbows and drawn their weapons. Faced with such a terrifying strike, none retreated. Instead, they collectively chose to stand in defiance, attempting to block it barehanded. Chapter 742, Chapter 301, Long Mountain marches in, defying the enemy to the death. Seeing the actions of the Xia army, Li Xuanling was not only surprised, but even had a hint of admiration in her eyes. Of course, none of this affected her swordplay. Courting death. Clang. At the critical moment, from the rear of the Xia army, suddenly flew out a massive figure 3 meters tall. A giant sword abruptly blocked the front, intercepting Li Xuanling's sword. Crack. It intercepted only for a moment. The right arm blade of the 3-meter-high sword puppet was directly severed. Sword puppet Xia Chuan. Looking at the golden puppet that suddenly appeared before her, Li Xuanling showed no surprise on her face. The soldiers who fled back from the battle at Changbai Gully had already told her about Xia Chuan's sword puppet. Xia Chuan stood behind the sword puppet, his expression extremely heavy, seeing the right arm blade of the sword puppet severed with just one sword. Li Xuanling's strength far exceeded his expectations. But still, he did not hesitate. His hands moved swiftly to control the sword puppet to continue charging towards Li Xuanling while quickly giving orders. Yuan Cheng, take people to block them. Zhao Long, Zhao Hu, Zhao Bao, keep an eye on them. Don't let the rear Longyu army continue to advance. Li Xuanling's expression tensed. While resisting the sword puppet, she sensed a spear thrust coming from behind and immediately turned to parry. Chen Yingyuan had arrived. Not only Chen Yingyuan, but Yuan Cheng, Qiu Peng, Yue Feng, and Lin Kai. Over 20 cold resistance level members of Great Xia all rushed out from the main building. Seeing this, Long Mountain was unrelenting. More than 50 cold resistance level members rapidly charged up from behind the Longyu army and began attacking the Great Xia's front line. Boom! Under the pressure of the massive number of cold resistance level, Great Xia immediately began to retreat step by step. It wasn't just a simple retreat. The lives of the frontline defenders were being continuously harvested by these cold resistance level members of Long Mountain. The arrow formation just now took at most a few hundred lives, but as soon as these 50-some cold resistance level members charged up, the casualties instantly multiplied. Seeing soldiers continuously fall, Xia Chuan, who was struggling in Li Xuanling's hands, finally couldn't bear it any longer. He shouted angrily towards the main building. Zhao Long, what are you waiting for? Hurry. Clag, 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 clag. The planks above the main building were pushed open, revealing countless strong bows, and the cold, dark arrows were aimed at the Longyu soldiers below. Release the arrows. At Zhao Long's command, a rain of arrows shot from above the main building, descending towards the rear Longyu army. Li Xuanling and the 52 cold resistance level members were indeed very strong, and they had indeed engaged the Xia army with the frontline Longyu army. But because they were too strong and charged too fast, it caused a disconnect with the massive Long Yu army at the rear. The more than 3,000 soldiers led by Zhao Long had been hidden above the main building for a long time. At this moment, shooting down from above, the lethality of the arrow rain immediately became apparent. The frontline Long Yu army had already engaged with the defenders and naturally couldn't be targeted with bows and arrows, but the rear had no such issue. Thud, thud, thud. Finally, the Long Yu army at the rear began to fall in batches. Although the number was not very large, it was the best result Great Xia had achieved since the start of the war. Keep holding on, even with your lives, hold on. As long as the rear Long Yu soldiers don't come through, once we exhaust this wave at the front, we have a chance. Xia Chuan's roar reinvigorated the retreating Xia soldiers, and everyone suddenly made a reckless charge back. Ha ha ha, I can take on 3 by myself, dying is worth it. Although Yuan Cheng was being besieged by 3 cold resistance level members, full of danger, he jokingly claimed he could take on 3, uplifting the morale instantly. Brothers, don't retreat, Long Mountain is bound to lose. Charge. Chapter 743, Chapter 302, Signs of Defeat Emerge, Snow Bamboo's Backup Plan. Xia Chuan's roar and the teasing from Yuan Cheng and the other cold resistance level individuals made the morale of the great Xia defenders around the main building, who fought to the death without retreating, suddenly soar. Indeed, it was from all directions. The Long Yu army originally attacked from the north side, but with more than 3,000 soldiers spreading out completely, one direction was naturally not enough. So, under the strategic direction of the cold resistance level individuals from Long Mountain, the Long Yu soldiers had already split from 2 sides, surrounding the entire main building within a 100-meter square area completely. The scene at this moment was that thousands of great Xia soldiers were backed against the main building, desperately holding off the Long Yu soldiers continuously charging from outside. Boom! On the west side of the main building, dozens of Long Yu soldiers had already torn open a breach, killing their way in more than 10 meters. Despite the constant replacement by the great Xia defenders coming to block, the gap in strength between the 2 sides was simply too large. Crunch. Long Yu land is not to be touched by others. Brothers, kill all the Xia dogs. A Long Yu soldier swung his butcher knife to cut down several great Xia soldiers in front, and then angrily shouted, leading more than 10 soldiers beside him, charging forward 3 or 4 more meters. Slosh. Unfortunately, that was as far as it went. The soldier charged too fiercely, paying no attention to the main building above, where a silver-glowing iron arrow shot directly towards his face. As he raised his knife again to strike, the iron arrow precisely hit his forehead, the sharp arrowhead shooting out from the back of his skull, killing him instantly. Brothers, we cannot retreat, fill the breach, drive them all outside. Do not retreat, if you retreat again you'll be downstairs, rush up. Zhao Long and the other lords are covering us with arrows. If we retreat downstairs, it will be difficult for them to shoot. Come on, everyone rush over. The voiceless roars and persistence of the great Xia defenders did not stop the trend of the breach expanding. After the dozen Long Yu soldiers solidified their foothold, more and more people rushed in from behind. The breach gradually expanded, soon leaving only some 20 to 30 meters from the main building. After all, it was Long Mountain's elite. Facing Great Xia's earth-digging realm, the Long Yu soldiers could fight 1 against 3, 1 against 5, or even more. The battle had been going on for more than half an hour. If not for the great Xia defenders fighting to the death, coupled with precise iron arrow cover from Zhao Long and other cold resistance level individuals sporadically from behind the main building, this battlefield would not have only one breach. Huff die. Bang! As the breach rapidly expanded, a double-edged giant axe suddenly slammed in from the flank, killing 3 Long Yu soldiers in succession, then swiftly swirled around, sweeping away all the other surrounding Long Yu troops. Don't panic, their rear people cannot come in, just hold off this wave. Yuan Cheng, dressed in black, with a burly physique like a war god, frantically swung the giant axe in rapid rotation, sweeping away more than 10 Long Yu soldiers while reminding the rest of the great Xia defenders around to continue pushing forward. Being cold resistance level, Yuan Cheng, with 3 main power, stopped by this battlefield, immediately halting the expansion of the breach. Furthermore, as he kept pushing outward horizontally, the breach gradually showed signs of shrinking. Xia dogs, do you really think you can stop us alone, seeking your doom? Unfortunately, Yuan Cheng's fierce prestige did not last long. The cold resistance level individuals of Long Mountain quickly came over to reinforce. And not just one. Li Qiumping, dressed in white, stopped Yuan Cheng's giant axe directly with his knife. Then, from both sides, emerged another cold resistance level individual, one from the upper left slicing at Yuan Cheng's neck, another from the lower right stabbing at Yuan Cheng's heart. Damn it! The moment his giant axe was stopped, Yuan Cheng knew that Li Qiumping's strength was far superior to his own, so did not choose to confront him directly but pulled his giant axe to the left, trying to retreat. However, with the swords approaching simultaneously from lethal angles on both sides, he essentially had nowhere to retreat to. Whichever direction he avoided would be a dead end. Yuan Cheng gritted his teeth fiercely, his eyes swiftly scanning, crashing abruptly to the left with his giant axe while simultaneously jumping upward. Trying to break out from the left, can you manage to escape? Li Qiumping revealed a sinister smile, pressed the knife holding the giant axe downward sharply, causing Yuan Cheng's jumping body to be pinned down immediately. Swoosh slash. As his body was forcibly pressed down by Li Qiumping, failing to successfully jump up, Yuan Cheng's intent to break through naturally fell through. Fortunately, his struggle was not in vain. The sword on the right, though it hit, pierced through close to the armpit area. The knife on the left, though also successfully cut, sliced into the area over an inch below the front collarbone at the neck. After all, it was a battle among cold resistance level individuals. This sword and knife, even failing to hit the vital area, caused extremely terrifying damage. The light gold iron armor worn by Yuan Cheng offered no protection whatsoever and was directly broken. A long cut was made on his chest, while a blood hole was punctured beneath the left armpit. As the cold resistance level individual quickly pulled out the long sword, blood spurted out, instantly dyeing his clothes red. Cold resistance level individuals merely had far stronger skin and basic strengths compared to earth-digging realm ones, without surpassing the normal human range. Despite not being life-threatening, the severe injury alone and the pain from the wounds were enough to completely sap Yuan Cheng of his strength. Indeed, as the trio anticipated, Yuan Cheng's face was full of anguish. His head hung slightly, indicating obvious signs of debilitation. Yet the scene that followed caused Li Qiumping's eyes to widen suddenly. Chapter 744, Chapter 302, Signs of Defeat Emerge, Snow Bamboo's Trump Card. Yuan Cheng suddenly looked up. The pain on his face vanished instantly, and then his eyes quickly filled with blood-red anger. He roared as he raised the giant axe, swinging it down towards the knife-wielding man on his left. Whoosh! Back in June during the martial arts competition, Yuan Cheng was using a 100 forged-level giant axe. After the competition, he immediately used his contribution value to order 1,000 forged-level double-edged giant axe from the craftsman department, though he was a bit worried it wouldn't be ready before the Longyu conflict erupted. Fortunately, Mu Donchuo brought over the batch earlier transferred from Xia City a few days ago, including his forged giant axe. 1,000 forged weapon isn't much, especially in front of the cold resistance level group from Long Mountain, as they all use 1,000 forged level weapons. But that's just the foundation. Like the people of Great Xia, these cold resistance level members of Long Mountain also wear armor. Without 1,000 forged level weapons, it's impossible to even break their war armor, let alone injure them. This desperate swing of Yuan Cheng's axe surprised not only Li Qiumping, but also the cold resistance level man with the knife on the left side, who was completely unprepared. He clearly didn't expect that Yuan Cheng, whose upper body was almost dyed red from 2 hits, could still stand up and swing the giant axe towards him. From the sound of the airflow stirred by the giant axe, Yuan Cheng seemed to be exerting his full strength. How is this possible? Unexpected, yes, but his reaction was swift. He quickly withdrew his knife and retreated in an attempt to avoid the attack. Li Qiumping and the man with the sword also reacted quickly, leaning forward and slashing towards Yuan Cheng, trying to block him. Unfortunately, everything happened too fast. Yuan Cheng had deliberately feigned weakness to deceive them, making their reaction slower than his. Snap! Yuan Cheng's target was clear, the knife-wielding cold resistance level man. He didn't care about the two on the right side at all, swinging the giant axe straight down. In his panic, the cold resistance level man raised his knife to block, but his strength was not as powerful as Li Qiumping's. The big knife was directly split by the giant axe, and the axe blade hacked 3 to 4 inches into his back. The sound of bone snapping was exceptionally clear. A trace of pain flashed across the man's pupils, and his body hit the ground with a thud, his life or death unknown. Yuan Ning. Li Xuanping saw his nephew felled by the giant axe, his voice full of fury, and he slashed directly at Yuan Cheng's head. Whoosh! After all, the power of the 9 bristles was evident. The anger in Li Xuanping's slash could be seen from the whistle of the wind. Yuan Cheng directly abandoned the giant axe. Disregarding his image, he fell down to evade in panic. Can he move freely despite such severe injuries? Does he have no sense of pain? The sword-wielding cold resistance level man couldn't help but exclaim as he saw Yuan Cheng dodging. Li Xuanping also sensed something wrong, but he was solely focused on killing Yuan Cheng at this moment and didn't have time to ponder the reasons, slashing at Yuan Cheng's abdomen. Yuan Cheng's strength was no match for his, and his speed fell far short as well. Even though he was rolling on the ground in an unflattering escape, he was caught up within 2 or 3 breaths, the blade's edge about to slice open his abdomen. Swoosh! At the critical moment, a silver iron arrow suddenly shot from the main building. If it were an arrow shot by an ordinary soldier, Li Xuanping wouldn't have cared, but this arrow was clearly unusual in both color and speed, flying straight at his face. He could only tilt his head to avoid it. With this head tilt, his slash naturally became less accurate. The big knife, initially aimed at Yuan Cheng's abdomen, suddenly diverted towards his thigh. Clang! A narrow longsword suddenly stabbed from the flank towards Li Xuanping's armpit, making it impossible for him to even hit Yuan Cheng's thigh. Instead, he had to withdraw his knife to block the narrow longsword first. Xiping, you have broken through. Yuan Cheng swiftly climbed up from the ground. He was momentarily stunned when he saw Xiping, the owner of the longsword, then realized something, his face filled with joy. Being able to use the longsword to repel Li Xuanping. Clearly, Xiping had also broken through to the cold resistance level. Director, now is not the time to talk about this. Although Xiping had just broken through, upon hearing Yuan Cheng's words, his face showed no joy but was full of solemnity. Seeing Xiping's battle armor also broken, Yuan Cheng then noticed his upper body was almost soaked in blood, looking even worse off than himself. He turned his head to scan the surroundings, finally understanding why Xiping said it wasn't the time. Just as he was entangled with Li Xuanping and the others earlier, the gap he had previously blocked had already been completely breached by the Longyu soldiers. At this moment, the area around the main building had almost transformed into a battlefield. Apart from 1,000 or so still close to the main building, the rest of the Great Xia Guard had nearly all engaged with the Longyu soldiers. But engaged seems to be praise and compliment for the Great Xia Guard. Whether judging by the number of bodies on the ground or the battlefield situation, the Great Xia side was clearly retreating, close to defeat. The Longyu army members were capable of taking on many enemies at once, let alone having far more cold resistance level members than their own side. Yuan Cheng's quick sweep found Yue Feng, Qiu Peng, Lin Kai, Han Guang, Meng Yi and other cold resistance level members all gravely injured, some even already fallen, their status unknown. Not only that, but even Xia Chuan and Chen Yingyuan to the north were being severely pushed back by Li Xuanling, covered in sword wounds and slashes. Xia Chuan's golden sword puppet had only its main body remaining. The attached 4 giant blades on the limbs were all severed by Li Xuanling's longsword. Chapter 745. Chapter 302. Signs of defeat emerge, Snow Bamboo's trump card. The defenders kept falling. Even those at the cold resistance level were beginning to die. The whole army was retreating. How long has it been? How long has it been? It's essential to know, due to the suppression from the main building's 3,000 archers, more than half of the 3,000 Longyu army were kept in the outer circle. The first wave of people who reached the vicinity of the main building numbered only just over 1,000. 6,000 against a bit over 1,000, and they crumbled. The second wave of Longyu army on the outskirts, already bearing the arrow rain, had reached a position less than 100 meters away from the battlefield. Yuan Cheng finally couldn't resist shouting at Xia Chuan. "Minister, we can't delay any longer. Any more delay and we lose." Clang! Xia Chuan lifted the black blade in front of himself. Although he angled it to deflect Li Xuanling's longsword, he couldn't resist the force transmitted through the sword. His tiger's mouth was torn and his body staggered, nearly collapsing to the ground. If it weren't for Chen Yingyuan's spear quickly striking from the flank, interrupting Li Xuanling's follow-up punch, even if he didn't die, he would have had his skin peeled off. The difference in strength is too great, over 20 bristles. My elder brother alone can handle 16 cold resistance levels, including Li Xuanling. Even when I team up with Chen Yingyuan, we can't gain any advantage. Damn it, damn it, damn it. The huge disparity in strength drove Xia Chuan nearly mad at the moment. The situation of the defending army was all too clear to him. He didn't need Yuan Cheng to remind him. Where is Xia Hong? Where has your Cloud Jiao army gone? At this critical moment, how could Li Xuanling not react? The great Xia's defenders were falling in heaps. Xia Hong and the Cloud Jiao army hadn't appeared yet. There was only one explanation. That is, they aren't here at all. If they're not here, where else could they be? You already have the answer in your heart. Why ask me? Xia Chuan already had 7 or 8 bloody holes on his upper body. His left leg was also cut with 3 deep gashes. His injuries were evidently more severe than Yuan Cheng's and Xi Ping's, so he was panting heavily as he spoke. But no matter how heavy his panting was, it couldn't cover up the strong sense of triumph on his face as he uttered those words. Li Xuanling's pupils abruptly contracted. Clearly, he had derived the answer from those words. They are going to attack Long Mountain. Xia Hong has taken the Cloud Jiao army to attack Long Mountain. How dare he, how dare he? The shock on Li Xuanling's face lasted less than 3 or 4 breaths. Then he realized something. His expression returned to normal as a cold sneer emerged. Attacking Long Mountain, your leader came up with that. Do you think Great Xia is the first to target my Long Mountain? Your Xia city is as solid as gold. Is it possible that my Long Mountain station is made of paper? Xia Hong indeed has good skills, but with only him and those 1,000 Cloud Jiao troops dreaming of breaking Long Mountain in their dreams. You'll soon find out if it can be breached. Xia Chuan, with natural trust in his elder brother, didn't even have the desire to argue with Li Xuanling. He merely sneered and quickly turned his head back to the rear main building, shouting in rage. Erect the bamboo screens, Zhao Long, lead everyone to charge out. The outcome hangs in the balance. Erect the bamboo screens. What does it mean? Not only Li Xuanling, but other cold resistance levels of Long Mountain also heard Xia Chuan's words. Ha, brothers, it's our turn to exert now. Everyone's expressions froze for a moment. Immediately, they saw a voice booming below the main building. Over 1,000 people cornering the main building quickly split into 4 teams, each standing at one side of the main building. Subsequently, together they pulled 3 massive chains from the ground. Clank, clank, clank. A total of 12 chains across 4 sides, all were buried deep in the ground. And at the end of these chains were about 100 meters outside the perimeter of the main building. A total force of over 1,000 people lifted them, in 4 directions about 100 meters away from the main building. A fine white bamboo net rose vertically from the ground. All 4 bamboo nets were square, approximately 100 meters wide. However, unlike ordinary bamboo, these bamboos were all snow white, and covered with a layer of densely packed spikes more than 10 centimeters long. The Longyu army, the second wave that hadn't charged below the main building's edge, was just standing by the edge of these bamboo nets. Xia Chuan evidently seized this opportunity before prompting the 1,000-plus people surrounding the main building to act and pull up these bamboo nets. Despite the bamboo nets being exceptionally tightly woven, and each side being connected by thick chains, they were fundamentally made of bamboo, so when raised, many standing over it broke the nets to a considerable extent. Swish, 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 swish. What is this thing? The burrs on these bamboos can shoot out. The impact force is only 10,000 pounds. Can't break my war armor, it's fine. Too many, watch your eyes. The spikes covering the surface of the snow bamboo automatically sensed and launched out. As the bamboo nets rose from all 4 sides, countless spikes were triggered and shot wildly towards the soldiers of the Longyu army ahead and behind. But the power of the snow bamboo spikes was only above 10,000 pounds. Apart from initially breaking some war armors or poking the eyes of a few unlucky fellows, the rest of the Longyu soldiers quickly realized these spikes at best might scratch the skin, couldn't inflict substantial injury. Is this your trump card? Ridiculous, Great Xia will undoubtedly be defeated tonight. At this moment, Li Xuanling also understood Yuan Cheng's previous roar, Xia Chuan's shout, including the over 1,000 people that remained around the main building throughout and hadn't taken action. All were for these 4 bamboo nets. The question is, what change can these 4 bamboo nets bring? The Longyu army soldiers, their cultivation had all surpassed the 30,000-pound limit. Some had already begun reshaping skin. Spikes with 10,000 pounds of impact force, regardless of the number, couldn't cause significant harm. Chapter 746, Chapter 302, Signs of Defeat Emerge, Snow Bamboo's Trump Card. Therefore, Li Xuanling gave the final ultimatum, uttering the 8 words, "The great Xia will inevitably be defeated tonight." However, Xia Chuan clearly disagreed with her words and immediately let out 2 cold laughs. "Hold on. Whiz." As soon as Xia Chuan's voice fell, 1,000 iron arrows suddenly flew from all sides of the main building. But unlike before, this time the flying iron arrows were, without exception, all aflame. Whoosh and whoosh and whoosh. Flames instantly filled the surroundings of the main building. A countless number of flame-tipped iron arrows directly pierced the bamboo nets, immediately igniting the snow bamboo. All the iron arrows from the main building didn't shoot at the Longyu soldiers, but all hit the surrounding bamboo nets. Hiss, hiss, and hiss. The snow bamboo was instantly ignited, and the temperature around rose. The still unignited area spikes continued to shoot at the Longyu soldiers. If someone observes carefully, they'll notice that from the moment the temperature rose, a wisp of white smoke gradually rose from both the spikes shot out by the snow bamboo and the Longyu soldiers, skin areas lacerated by the spikes. Why is my wound smoking? It's not just the wounds, those spikes are smoking too. Poison, the smoke is poisonous. Brothers, victory or defeat lies in this single action. Take out all detoxification pills, take them and fight your way out. Annihilate these long mountain beasts and avenge our fallen brothers. Kill. How could snow bamboo alone handle the Longyu army? The Tangjiao poison on the snow bamboo spikes was Xia Chuan's real killing move. Indeed, the Longyu army is strong, but no matter how strong, they still have only the earth-digging realm's cultivation, at most beginning to reshape their skin. They still cannot withstand the Tangjiao poison mist. The spikes smeared with poison had already lacerated many Longyu soldiers' skin. The high temperature triggered by the flaming arrows immediately took effect. The moment the white smoke rose around the main building, all the cold resistance level personnel on Great Xia's side signaled all the soldiers to take the detoxification pill. After Zhao Long's angry roar, the 3,000 people who had been hiding inside the main building finally dropped their bows and arrows and rushed out from 4 directions, surging around the Xia defense forces, charging aggressively at the Longyu army. As was said before, only one batch of Longyu soldiers reached the main building from beginning to end, with the second batch always being blocked 100 meters away. The dual assault of the snow bamboo and Tangjiao poison mist sent the second batch of Longyu soldiers outside into chaos, with many people showing obvious dizziness. The Longyu soldiers inside, who were just enjoying themselves in the killing, were also gradually enveloped by the poisonous mist. Although not responding so quickly, their morale apparently showed signs of panic. The Xia defense forces, having taken the detoxification pill, were led by Zhao Long and the other 10 cold resistance level soldiers. Over 3,000 people surged forward menacingly at that moment, their intimidating effect practically perfect. Crack. For more than an hour earlier, the Great Xia had been under pressure almost the entire time. The 2,000 to 3,000 corpses on the ground proved it. Now knowing the Longyu soldiers were affected by the Tangjiao poison and couldn't exert their full strength, everyone in Great Xia instantly fell into a state of frenzy. Kill. Someone rushed near a frontline Longyu soldier first, raising a great knife to slash desperately at his head. Clank. Of course, his strength wasn't as good as that Longyu soldier's, so the great knife was impaled by the opponent's spear before it could come down. Long Mountain Dog Thief, die for me. Yet the Xia soldier didn't give up. Even with his shoulder pierced, he fiercely slashed down with that knife. Crack. A crack appeared in the Longyu soldier's shoulder war armor, sending a flash of panic across his face as he instinctively tried to retreat from the knife. However, the second, third, fourth, a continuous stream of Xia soldiers came up, instantly burying him. Kill. Zhao Long and the other 10 people had long been waiting impatiently inside the main building. Seeing Xia Chuan almost dying at Li Xuanling's hands moments ago, their urgency was heightened. Finally able to charge out leading the army, all the pent-up anger exploded on the nearest Longyu soldiers. Russell, without suspense, not to mention the Longyu soldiers, even the cold resistance level personnel around the main building were directly broken through by the army. Li Xuanling was no exception. Xia Chuan, Chen Yingyuan, Yuan Cheng, Qiu Peng, Lin Kai, and other cold resistance levels in dire straits moments ago were all rescued now. Heavily injured, they didn't follow the army charge out but stood at the rear, watching the Longyu army being pushed back without cease, eyes full of relief. Naturally, besides feeling relieved, Xia Chuan kept a constant watch on the Longyu army's moves, ready to give the next instruction at any time. The Teng Jiao poison's effect isn't strong for now, don't fear them. They aren't as strong as you. Rear army retreat first, fetch bows and shoot arrows. Front army hold your ground. Li Xuanling finally couldn't bear it. Instead of retreating continuously, she stopped a few dozen meters back, leading all the cold resistance levels to form a curtain, blocking the Xia army with force, while giving orders to the Longyu army at the rear. The Longyu soldiers quickly reacted. Those retreating backwards halted gradually, while the rearguard, the second batch who never charged, obeyed orders, retreating while picking up iron arrows and strong bows from the ground to shoot at the Xia army. They had just withdrawn to the position where they previously abandoned their bows to charge, which is why Li Xuanling gave this order. Xia army retreat, all retreat back. Seeing the scattered shooting of iron arrows by the Longyu soldiers, Xia Chuan immediately suppressed his body injury and issued an order. Although the Zhao Long brothers rushed very forward, the three clearly retained their rationality. Upon hearing Xia Chuan's voice, without a hint of hesitation, they stopped immediately. Rear army be the front, everyone retreat to the main building fast, fast, fast. In comparison to the Longyu army, the thousands of earth-digging realms on Great Xia's side naturally weren't as disciplined, and their mobility was slow, but they had been on the offensive side just now, making their orderliness better than the retreating Longyu army. So Zhao Long's retreat command was quickly executed. The Great Xia defenders, who surged like a tide, immediately shrank back into the main building. We've held it. We've held it, haha. The Longyu army is that big of a deal. 3,000 earth-digging realm limits are merely this. No need for the leader to take action. The minister and we can hold it. Haha. The tension from the life-and-death struggle had kept everyone's heartstrings taut. The relief of surviving, combined with the joy of withstanding the Longyu army, mixed together, and they could no longer suppress their repressed emotions, roaring taunts one after another in the direction of the retreating Longyu army. Xia Chuan in the back row, clutching his chest wound, eyes full of gloom. Normal taunts shouldn't need to be yelled, they should be happy. He understood that the reason they had such a reaction was more out of despair. The strength of the Longyu army is too great. If they come again, they definitely won't withstand. Therefore, rather than saying they were taunting, it would be better to say they were venting all their fear under the guise of taunting. It's not working, I have to think of another way. Chapter 747, Chapter 304, The defeated Longyu army, Xia army cannot escape, holy tripod. As the two armies distanced themselves, the underground main zone also fell into silence. Hive main zone, north side of the building complex. Longyu army camp by the campfire, Li Xuanling always wore a dark expression. Upon seeing Meng Ying, who was responsible for tallying the casualties, return, she immediately inquired, "What's the situation with the soldiers, casualties?" With a grave expression, Meng Ying began, 572 dead in battle, 32 seriously injured, total casualties 604, minor injuries not tallied. The remaining combat-capable soldiers are 2365. Crack. Li Xuanling directly smashed the temporary desk in front of her and stood up, glaring around at the cold resistance-level officers, angrily scolding. How could we have lost so many people? I just observed during the retreat Great Xia's casualties were no more than a little over 2,000. How did you manage to fight like this? Just now on the battlefield, including during the retreat, her entire focus was on Great Xia's casualties, and she honestly had no clear concept of her own side's losses. The casualty number of 604 clearly exceeded what she could mentally accept. Not only Li Xuanling, but all the cold resistance-level officers around the campfire displayed startled expressions, and a few even looked at Meng Ying with disbelief. To over 2,000, the loss ratio is about 1 to over 3. If they had fought such a result against a normal army of comparable strength and numbers, the reaction wouldn't have been like this. But they faced a garrison composed of ordinary earth-digging realm troops from Great Xia. Failing to break through, the main building was already a significant failure. The loss ratio didn't even reach 1 to 5. How is this possible? The battle spirit of the Xia army seems much stronger than ours. It's not the battle spirit, it's the Dan medicine. Great Xia not only has better healing pills, but there seems to be one that can block physical pain. The person I faced had their abdomen pierced 3 times, yet could still retaliate against me. The front-line Xia army is equipped with 100 forged armor. Although our soldiers have a cultivation advantage, we can't kill with one strike. That's why the progress is so slow. Over half of the soldiers in the rear were suppressed by the arrow formation on the main building, unable to advance for reinforcements. Only a little over 1,000 managed to assault the base of the main building. That white smoke comes from Tangjiao poison, activated at high temperature, which can directly kill logging realm. Even though inhaling it at the earth-digging realm limit isn't fatal, it causes severe dizziness. We had hunted Tangjiao before in Long Mountain. How did we not consider that this could be used on a battlefield? Everyone shut up. Li Chuanling abruptly interrupted their discussions, her face as dark as blood. She's not blind. All the factors they mentioned were clearly observed on the battlefield earlier, yet regardless of these objective reasons, she couldn't accept the Longyu army performing like this. She fiercely glared at the south side main building, asking Meng Ying in a rage. How are the soldiers' conditions? Just earlier, after the Tangjiao poison mist spread, it covered a wide area, causing nearly all soldiers to inhale some, leading to universal poisoning. The Tangjiao poison mist isn't unfamiliar in Long Mountain. Li Chuanling knows that its potency isn't particularly high. It can kill ordinary people in logging realm upon inhalation, while an earth-digging realm just needs to cover their face with a damp cloth to hold on for a moment. And those at the earth-digging realm limit who have started reshaping skin will only feel dizzy, not fatal. Meng Ying promptly replied, not a major issue. Cheng Guang is leading people to retrieve wet soil from the tunnels to squeeze moisture. Some lightly poisoned soldiers have already recovered. More than 600 soldiers affected more severely will need about 1 more hour to recover. In this part of the hive station, the tunnels excavated underground are numerous, making the soil below not as dry as other places. As long as enough wet soil is obtained, water can be extracted, and clean water is the key remedy against Tangjiao poison. Still an hour needed. Li Chuanling's brow tightly knit, as she lifted her gaze towards the ceiling's iron wall opening, discovering no light outside at all, and she immediately clenched her fists. When the rodents broke through, allowing all of Longyu army to descend beneath, it was the late night of June 25th. After descending, the scattered soldiers gathered to the north side, advanced towards the building area after gathering, and finally came the bloodbath in the main building zone, all taking time. Earlier, during the grand fight by the main building side with Xia Chuan and Chen Yingyuan, she noticed light filtering through those openings, yet now there was none. This proves an entire day has passed. Now it's already the night of June 26th. While it's impossible to precisely predict the time, she could roughly estimate that nighttime had already advanced by about 4 hours. In other words, the first half of the night was about to pass. The army still needs another hour to rest and recover, and even if prepared for battle, the soonest it would happen is during the latter half of the night, with victory targeted around June 27th. 3,000 Longyu army, arriving at the hive station late night of June 23rd, have been dragged by Xia Chuan with 27 cold resistance level officers and over 9,000 ordinary earth-digging realm soldiers for 4 days. They haven't captured it yet. Li Chuanling stood up, abruptly turning and glaring at everyone, speaking in a stern voice. Of the cold resistance level that Great Xia put forth for battle, there are 27 in total. I just confirmed with you, we've slain 3, factoring in Xia Chuan and Chen Yingyuan who fought against me. There are 19 seriously injured, unable to recover shortly. Their total earth-digging realm manpower is about over 9,000, with at least over 2,000 casualties in the first wave, including those who lost combat capability, an estimated remaining average of only 6,000 combat-capable soldiers. We have only 6 seriously injured cold resistance level, not 1 dead, remaining are 46, soldiers still 2365. As long as we're fully recovered and regroup for a second round, we'll break through the main building and annihilate all the Xia army. Chapter 748. Chapter 304. The defeated Longyu army. Xia army cannot escape. Holy tripod. The people's expressions, which were originally somewhat dispirited, finally lifted a bit upon hearing these words, especially when they heard that 3 from the great Xia at the cold resistance level had been killed and not one from our side was lost. It gave everyone's spirits a jolt. In such large-scale melees, it's actually quite difficult for those at the cold resistance level to die. After all, even the weakest cold resistance has a basic strength at least 3 times that of the earth-digging realm limit, if not more. Restricted by battlefield conditions, they might not be able to exert their full strength, but their skin's toughness is there. As long as they don't stand still to let the soldiers hack away, they're only threatened by attacks from similarly leveled experts. Even at the worst, if you can't win, can't you at least flee? As long as you retreat nimbly into the crowd after being seriously injured, surviving is still quite easy. In this situation, 3 from the great Xia died, and 19 were seriously injured. While on our side, only 6 were seriously injured, and none died. Clearly, Long Mountain has achieved a significant advantage in the cold resistance level aspect. Of course, this is also due to sheer numbers. This time, Long Mountain brought a total of 52 at the cold resistance level, while the great Xia had only 27, and that's just in terms of numbers. In terms of strength, the gap is even wider. On our side, there are 11 whose strength is above the level of 9 maned, and 1 with the strength of 21 manned, Li Chuanling. While on the great Xia's side, the strongest are Xia Chuan and Chen Yingyuan, but they're only at 9 maned, and the rest are at around 3 maned, and there are even a few at 1 manned. Thinking of this, the people's expression stiffened slightly, and they all showed some embarrassment. Seeing the awkwardness on everyone's faces, Li Xuanling was not surprised at all. Obviously, like himself, they also realized that with such a disparity in strength, ending up in the current situation is indeed quite shameful. It's good that you know to be embarrassed. Feel ashamed and then show courage. In the next round, don't hold back anymore. If you can have the mentality of fighting to the death like the Xia army, from those at the cold resistance level to ordinary earth-digging realm, how could they possibly stop us with just that number of people? After Li Xuanling finished speaking, he paused for a moment, then continued in a deep voice. If I'm not mistaken, Xia Hong should be leading those 1,000 Cloud Dragon army to Long Mountain. What? Going to attack Long Mountain? Has Xia Hong gone mad? 1,000 Cloud Dragon army attacking Long Mountain. Impossible. Li Xuanling's words undoubtedly stirred up a storm. With over 40 people, a handful exclaimed directly, and nearly half had expressions of disbelief. Of course, there were also a few people, such as Li Xuanyan, Li Xuanqiang, Li Xuanping as well as Meng Ying, Cheng Guang and Song Kang, whose expressions remained calm, obviously having anticipated this earlier. 1,000 Cloud Dragon army dared to attack Long Mountain. Xia Hong seems to have lost his mind. No matter how strong he is, he can't possibly succeed. Long Mountain has a population of 130,000 with 15,000 earth-digging realm. No matter how strong he is by himself, how could he possibly do it? It's a fool's dream. Upon hearing Li Xuanping's 2 comments, everyone nodded immediately. Long Mountain originally had just over 70,000 people. But don't forget, in April, Long Mountain seized the initiative and annexed the 3 families of Yucheng, Song Yuan, and Changning in one fell swoop. Although the number at the cold resistance level hasn't changed much, the number of those in the earth-digging realm has increased significantly. And now, even after deducting these 3,000 Longyu army, it's still as high as 15,000. This is also why, in early June, Long Mountain was able to form a new army. Although the new army is gone, the earth-digging realm in the camp still remains. Moreover, Long Mountain also has Li Tiancheng, the strongest in Long Mountain, commanding 5 cold resistance levels on standby, with ample war materials. What does Xia Hong have to attack us with? However, Li Xuanling chose to say that Xia Hong was attacking Long Mountain at this time, clearly not to reassure everyone. Meng Ying was the first to react, speaking softly to everyone. Before attacking the beehive, you also thought it was foolproof. Now what? Upon hearing this rhetorical question, everyone's expressions froze. Indeed, before attacking the beehive, they thought nothing could go wrong. As long as the 2 armies clashed, Long Mountain would surely win. Just like now, hearing that Xia Hong was attacking Long Mountain, not a single person thought it would succeed. The recent defeat had already slapped them in the face. And as for the latter scenario, could Xia Hong possibly continue to slap their face and really capture Long Mountain? Following Meng Ying's train of thought, everyone's expressions changed immediately. The beehive was just a post of the great Xia. But Long Mountain is their home. Their parents, children, kin, and friends, they're all in Long Mountain. The more they thought from this angle, the graver their expressions became, and some even looked up at Li Xuanling, obviously wanting to say something. I'm telling you this not to make you worry. With my uncle leading the defense, I believe Xia Hong's 1,000 men couldn't possibly break through Long Mountain. But you all need to understand, the more time we waste here at the beehive, the longer Xia Hong has to attack our camp, and the more casualties there will be. Li Xuanling paused for a moment, then solemnly continued. So, for the next round of attack, victory is the only option. No defeat, understood? Upon hearing this inquiry, everyone suddenly raised their heads, displaying an incredibly determined expression, and answered in unison. Understood, leader. Seeing the morale of everyone restored, Li Xuanling finally showed a satisfactory expression, picked out 6 commanding captains from the 3 armies, and ordered, "Go make everything clear to all the soldiers and inform them to march in half an hour. The second attack must decisively defeat the Xia army." Understood, we obey. After the 6 commanding captains bowed in response, they all proceeded towards the direction of the barracks. Unstoppable Longyu army. Decisively defeat the Xia army. Chapter 749. Chapter 304. The defeated Longyu army. Xia army cannot escape. Holy tripod. Invincible Long Mountain. In just a moment, roars erupted continuously from the direction of the military camp, rapidly invigorating the soldiers' spirit. Determining an army's combat power relies not only on cultivation, but also on morale. Xia Hong knew that by withdrawing everyone from Wushuang and letting them find nothing, it would dampen the first wave of morale from the Longyu army. Naturally, Li Xuanling also had ways to boost her own side's morale. The cold resistance level personnel, knowing that Long Mountain was under attack and worried about their families stationed there, were eager to break into the main building, which instantly boosted their morale. The Longyu army soldiers were no exception. Watching the army's morale gradually rise, Li Xuanling finally relaxed a little, when suddenly Li Xuandu quietly spoke to her. Have you ever thought, why does Great Xia guard the main building? Why does Great Xia guard the main building? Li Xuanling turned her head and stared at the main building for 3 or 4 breaths, quickly realizing the true meaning behind Li Xuandu's question. Her expression immediately froze. Indeed, the main building is the strongest structure in the entire construction area, but in the end, it's just a building. Under such a large-scale army assault, it offers essentially no protective effect. On the contrary, because the main building is located at the center of the entire construction area, guarding it puts Great Xia at risk of being surrounded on all sides. The Xia army's cultivation and combat strength were inferior to the Longyu army. Their only advantage was numbers. To increase their chances, they had to reduce the contact surface with the Longyu soldiers as much as possible, preventing the Longyu army from exerting their full strength. From the last round of engagements, it was clear that Xia Chuan understood this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stationed 3,000 men on the main building to suppress the rear of the Longyu army with arrows, stopping them from rushing to the front. Knowing this, he should choose a sufficiently narrow area to defend, engaging the Longyu army from only 1 or 2 directions, thereby increasing the probability of holding the line. The beehive's construction area spans about 2 kilometers, with many such regions. Why did Xia Chuan choose those and instead chose the main building, which is vulnerable from all sides? The main building has an exit, a passage connecting to the ground. They want to escape. Li Xuanling suddenly exclaimed in shock, instantly freezing the expressions of Li Xuandu and the other nearby figures. They all turned to look at the main building on the south side, urgency written all over their faces. Despite the Xia army still surrounding the main building, they had no idea what was happening inside. What if Xia Chuan really was trying to escape? Don't worry, they won't get away. Li Xuanling was already anxiously looking toward the military camp, clearly intending to forcibly organize the yet-to-fully recovered Longyu soldiers and make them attack early. Just as she was about to speak, a voice suddenly rang out beside her. The speaker was Li Xuanqiang. As soon as Li Chuanxiang spoke, the crowd immediately wore relieved expressions and fell silent. Li Xuanling was no exception. However, besides relief, her eyes also showed signs of struggle and hesitation. She didn't even turn to look at Li Chuanxiang, just nodded and softly said, "That's good, let's wait another half an hour for the soldiers to recover, and then we'll attack." What the ground is covered in white mist and cold beasts. In the main hall of the hive main building, Xia Chuan, wrapped in bandages, turned his pale face towards Yue Feng, full of disbelief. Inside the hall, all 26 cold resistance level individuals were present. That is, counting the 3 bodies covered with black cloth on the floor as well. 18 of them, like Xia Chuan, were also wrapped in bandages, and compared to them, Xia Chuan, who could sit up and turn his head, was in a relatively good condition. 8 lay on the ground unconscious. The foremost 5 were injured as well, just with fewer bandages, still retaining some mobility. At this moment, Yue Feng, whom Xia Chuan had inquired of, was one of those 5. Yue Feng, his clothes stained with mud, looked quite disheveled. With a grim expression he responded, "Indeed so. I only peeked for a moment. The ground above the main area is covered in white mist. I don't know the range, but many cold beasts have come, mostly intermediate cold beasts, with some advanced cold beasts as well, numbering in the hundreds at least. We made too much noise during the battle just now, shaking the entire underground main area. So many cold beasts came to the surface, and we were completely unaware. Hundreds of them, even if all were intermediate cold beasts, were quite terrifying, let alone mixed in with advanced cold beasts. Most of the cold resistance level attendees present now wore expressions of despair. Right after the recent battle ended, upon returning and tallying the casualties, including Xia Chuan, everyone realized instantly that should the Longyu army launch another attack, they almost had no chance of holding them off. Among the cold resistance level, 3 were killed in battle, and of the 19 seriously injured, 8 had completely lost the ability to fight again, while even the remaining 11 who could fight couldn't give their all. The other 5 lightly injured excluded Xia Chuan and Chen Yingyuan. At the earth-digging realm, 2,782 were killed in battle, and 924 were seriously injured. Life force at the earth-digging realm isn't as robust as the cold resistance level, with the seriously injured essentially unable to fight again, leaving less than 5,700 combat-ready soldiers. Xia Chuan saw clearly, having sacrificed so many, they might have killed less than 600 Longyu soldiers, only about a fifth. And this was with the advantage in numbers of Tangjiao poison, snow bamboo, and iron arrows. The second wave couldn't be fought. Or rather, if they really had to fight, they should be prepared to lose their lives here. Chapter 750, Chapter 304, The Defeated Longyu Army. Xia Army Cannot Escape, Holy Tripod. Xia Chuan realized this point earlier than the others, so as soon as he retreated, he immediately had Yue Feng clear the tunnel on the top floor of the main building to scout the situation outside and prepare to lead people out underground, in other words, escape. This was also a retreat route he had prepared in advance. Their task was just to hold back the Longyu army. Defending the beehive was just a means to an end. Since it couldn't be held, he naturally wouldn't stay here to fight to the death. Unfortunately, this only retreat seems to be blocked now. The cold beast should have been lured by the white mist. The white Du-gu has made a move, and it's highly likely that Li Xuanxiang is under control. The previous rodents were also brought over by the white mist to breach the iron wall. Chen Yingyuan, who was also severely injured at this moment, stood next to Xia Chuan and spoke in a slightly breathless voice, sharing his conjecture. Earlier, when Xia Hong was surveying the Yanglu Forbidden Land, he took him and Peng Bo along, and he had seen those white mists in the Yanglu Forbidden Land with his own eyes. So when he saw the white mist invading through the hole broken by the rodents earlier, he immediately realized what was going on. After listening, Xia Chuan did not respond in any way and bowed his head, lost in thought. Can't run away now. Seeing Xia Chuan's reaction, Zhao Long's expression darkened slightly, and he couldn't help but let out a light sigh. Bang! Yuan Cheng, one of the severely wounded, was in a slightly better condition, sitting on a chair. Hearing Zhao Long's words, he slapped the chair hard, stood up directly with a swoosh, and said angrily, "If we can't run, then we won't. Either way, it's a death sentence. Minister, let's go all out against the Longyu army. Even if it costs my life, I'll take down a few Long Mountain dogs." As soon as Yuan Cheng spoke, Qiu Peng, Luo Yuan, Lin Kai, Meng Yi, Zhu Yuan, including Zhao Long with a dim expression, all followed and shouted angrily. That's right, at worst it's death. Over 2,000 brothers are gone. Even if I die, I'm taking a few from Long Mountain with me. Huang Yang, Zhu Ling, and Ying Xuan, 3 at the cold resistance level, have gone down as well, so it doesn't matter about us. Minister, go all out with Long Mountain, I'm not afraid. The leader might have already taken Long Mountain. We can't drag behind with our over 9,000 strong. Let's fight Li Xuanling and the others. Great Xia has no cowards who fear death. Even if it costs my life, so be it. After these years of good days, it's time to repay the camp. I never dreamed I could break through to the cold resistance level before. Following the leader to achieve such fortune, I've lived enough. Minister, let's fight them. Oh yeah? I won't let you die, trust me. Seeing everyone's determination to die, Xia Chuan was moved, stood up, and interrupted them directly. Just as Xia Chuan was about to speak, suddenly, someone burst in from outside. The person looked panicked, gasping for air as he spoke. Minister, lords, the corpses. The corpses on the ground are starting to emit a large amount of white dewdrops, just like the dewdrop plague from a while ago. The infection rate is extremely fast. Many of our wounded brothers are also starting to exhibit it. Upon hearing this, Yuan Cheng had the largest reaction among everyone. He clearly remembered something, his pupils shrinking suddenly as he hurriedly turned to look at Xia Chuan, only to find that Xia Chuan's face showed no surprise at all. Yes, matters of Yangyuan Peak, he had long told the minister. The others basically knew about the dewdrop plague as well and instinctively took out solidified fire oil from their bodies, including the soldier who just reported, who also had solidified fire oil applied. Evidently, in dealing with the dewdrop plague, the people of Great Xia already had some experience. However, the speed at which the dewdrop plague spreads is extremely fast, especially in areas with many corpses and injured. Using solidified fire oil simply wasn't fast enough. Yue Feng, light the fire. Just then, Xia Chuan suddenly gave an inexplicable order. Light the fire, what fire? Everyone was confused, then saw Yue Feng walking towards Xia Chuan's back, heading to the side room behind the main hall. Sizzle, sizzle. A flame suddenly rose from the side room, and an intense warmth spread out, almost instantly making everyone in the main hall realize. The holy tripod. The leader left the holy tripod for us. The dewdrop plague is no problem now. We don't need solidified fire oil. Wait, isn't the holy tripod's plague elimination indiscriminate? Once ignited, the dewdrops on the Long Yu army will disappear too, and they'll still attack us. Oh yeah? The appearance of the holy tripod, although a relief. But the problem with the Long Yu army remains unsolved. Don't rush, Yue Feng, go up to the ground first and then. After indicating everyone to stay calm, Xia Chuan first called Yue Feng to his side, laying out tasks one by one, and after speaking, turned to look at Chen Yingyuan. Tend to yourself first, we will go talk to Li Xuanling together. Chapter 751, Chapter 305, Twists and Turns, Severed Arms, Heads, and a Forced Retreat. Why did the underground temperature suddenly rise? It's coming from the main building. Is Great Xia playing tricks? Doesn't seem like a trick. This warmth actually feels quite comfortable. The dewdrops on me have turned into water drops. My solidified fire oil isn't even applied completely, and the dewdrops are gone. Look at the corpses. The dewdrops on the surface have turned transparent. There's no more heating up. The Xia army will gather the bodies of the fallen soldiers, and so will this side of Long Mountain. Dewdrops appeared simultaneously on the wounds of surviving soldiers and on the surface of the fallen soldiers' bodies. They also noticed, and Li Xuanling immediately ordered the soldiers to start applying solidified fire oil. Long Mountain had bought a significant amount of solidified fire oil from Great Xia some time ago, and they still preserved it. For this expedition, Li Xuanling had specially ordered everyone to bring it. Position at the rear of the camp, a temporary place for storing the corpses of fallen soldiers. Li Xuanling and a group of cold resistance level witnessed firsthand the corpses, surfaces. The dewdrops that had originally turned red and warmed up slowly disappeared and turned into ordinary water drops with the rising temperature. Expressions both relaxed yet with a touch of heaviness. As expected, Great Xia's methods for dealing with deceitful monsters are much more formidable than ours. The entire underground space's temperature has risen. The wounds on the soldiers and the dewdrops growing on these corpses' surface have all vanished. No surprise, bringing out an extraordinary item like solidified fire oil. It's not unusual for Great Xia to have other more powerful treasures. The heat source is coming from the main building. Is that treasure located there? This has helped us resolve the dewdrop plague too. Likely they can't control the radiation range of this heat source, or they wouldn't be this kind-hearted. They lost more people in battle, and the infection from dewdrops spread faster. Without quick resolution, if the dewdrops explode and ignite on the corpses' surfaces, they'd all perish. How is second brother doing? Li Xuanling ignored the discussions among the others, and instead inquired softly about Li Xuanxiang's condition. Shortly after the underground temperature rose, Li Xuanxiang suddenly fell into a coma. He is still unconscious, hasn't woken up. During the recent battle, second young master just received a knife wound on his back, and the injury wasn't too deep. How could he suddenly fall into a coma? Meng Ying hurriedly responded, full of confusion. Not only him, but the others around shared the sentiment, evidently baffled by Li Xuanxiang's sudden coma. Post guards, the dewdrop issue is resolved, so that's good. Have the army take a last break for half an hour, then after the half hour begin to attack. Leader Li, Xia Chuan has important matters to discuss, hoping Leader Li would grace us with your presence. Li Xuanling's words were interrupted by a sudden voice from the southern side of the camp, and everyone's expressions changed, turning southward. That Xia dog dares to come over, what audacity! Does he think he's Xia Hong? Leader, let me go capture him. No rush, wait. Li Xuanling gestured for everyone to stay calm temporarily, standing in place with a mix of emotions on her face for quite a while, eventually beginning to walk outside. I'll go alone, inform the soldiers to be prepared to attack at any time. Yes, leader. After issuing the final command, Li Xuanling quickly walked toward the south side. Not far outside the northern construction zone of the camp, Li Xuanling walked only a kilometer south and immediately saw Xia Chuan and Chen Yingyuan standing ahead. Seeing Xia Chuan clad in black not far away, with normal complexion and breathing showing no signs of injury, Li Xuanling's face showed a fleeting sense of doubt. When she noticed Chen Yingyuan in yellow clothes behind Xia Chuan also seemed much the same, Li Xuanling clenched the fist hidden under her sleeve. Great Xia's healing pills truly possess astonishing effects. During the previous battle, she fought Xia Chuan and Chen Yingyuan alone, and was very aware of the extent of the injuries her longsword inflicted on the two. Returning from the retreat earlier, she even thought these two were likely incapable of continuing the fight, and if they could, the injuries she caused would substantially reduce their strength. She was confident she could kill them in a direct confrontation. But now the two showed no signs of injury at all. If these two were in this condition, was it possible the other 17 cold resistance level from Great Xia had pretty much recovered as well? Li Xuanling felt a sudden unease in her heart, with no attention to the fact that she was still over 200 meters away from Xia Chuan and Chen Yingyuan. Leader Li, the dewdrop plague within your camp has disappeared, hasn't it? Li Xuanling paused her steps, looking up at Xia Chuan with a smile, her expression slightly tense, as if pondering deeply. Leader Li, I've saved Long Mountain indirectly once now. Li Xuanxiang has problems which both you and I are aware of. In the recent battle, you've likely lost about 600, and if we fight again, your casualties will be higher. By then, even without Great Xia's intervention, Li Xuanxiang could spell doom for you. Moreover, my leader is attacking Long Mountain. Are you sure you still want to waste time here with me? Only 5 hours until daylight. If you withdraw your army now, go through the tunnel to aid Long Mountain, you can still make it, but when daylight arrives, you'll have no chances left. Leader Li, heed my advice, lead the army. Are you afraid? Before Xia Chuan could finish his words, Li Xuanling suddenly interrupted. Observing Xia Chuan's slightly stiffening expression, Li Xuanling's eyes grew colder as she spoke. We've fought this far. Do you truly think I'll retreat? Leader Li, regarding casualties, Long Mountain isn't comparable to Great Xia. In the recent battle, we lost nearly 3,000 men. Even 3 cold resistance level members died. Long Mountain lives are precious, yet we Xia people are not mere grass. Knowing continued fighting will only benefit that white Dugu, I wouldn't have come here as a mediator otherwise. Chapter 752, Chapter 305, Twists and Turns, Severed Arms, Heads, and a Forced Retreat. Xia Chuan initially appealed pitiably. When he mentioned that the Xia people were not worthless, he spoke with a hint of resentment. Finally, his tone was full of helplessness and compromise as he presented himself as a spokesperson. His speech was full of emotion and sincerity, making anyone feel that he was sincerely trying to persuade. After saying these words, Xia paused, his expression stern, and continued. Deceitful monsters are humanity's greatest enemy. Leader Li should know this well. Just tonight in Long Mountain, they killed so many of us. There is absolutely no possibility of ending the war or negotiating peace between our two factions in the future. Even so, I only wish to confront Long Mountain honorably on the battlefield. In the end, regardless of who wins, it's just a matter of several 10,000 people changing their names and continuing their lives. However, the dewdrop plague that just occurred, Leader Li also witnessed it. The white Dugu couldn't resist making a move. Now there are at least 3,000 corpses in the main area. Once a fire breaks out, solidified fire oil won't be able to suppress it. Only the holy tripod left by my leader can handle it. But if the fight continues, giving the white Dugu an opportunity, all of us will die here. There is a way. I'm eager to hear Leader Li's brilliant insight. Xia was slightly taken aback, but immediately looked at Li Xuanling with hope. Hand over this holy tripod you mentioned to us at Long Mountain, and additionally, have all the Xia army in the main building surrender their weapons. I can assure you that no one will be killed, as long as everything remains fine at Long Mountain. Xia Hong peacefully leads his people out of Longyu. Both our factions will not cross each other's boundaries in the future. We will remain undisturbed. Upon hearing the first sentence, Xia pupils slightly contracted, yet he patiently listened to Li Xuanling finish speaking. In the end, his face was full of hesitation and struggle, as if he was truly contemplating Li Xuanling's proposal. The holy tripod surrendering, these are significant matters that I have no authority over. If Leader Li trusts me, I could send someone to Long Mountain to find my leader and let them decide. What do you think? You're playing me. Roared. Earlier there wasn't much, but upon hearing the last sentence, if Li Xuanling still didn't react, it would be foolish. Just as her voice fell, an extremely excited cold beast's roar was heard from overhead. An advanced snow mane, how is it possible? Li Xuanling's expression changed suddenly. She quickly looked up at the iron wall above the main area with her rich hunting experience. She immediately identified the roar as coming from an advanced snow mane. Xia was momentarily stunned, then quickly reacted, pulling Chen Yingyuan as he turned and retreated towards the direction of the main building. However, before they could successfully retreat, a streak of blood light suddenly shot up from the ground, piercing through his waist directly. Thud! Xia was already severely injured, and the blood light pierced his waist, unable to evade, sending him flying backward 50 to 60 meters. If Chen Yingyuan hadn't swiftly run behind to catch him, he would have flown beside Li Xuanling. Kai 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 kai. From the ground where the red light had just shot out, a faint squeaking sound suddenly rang out, followed by two sharp and long fangs suddenly breaking through the ground. It's worth knowing, the entire main area of the beehive is surrounded by iron walls. For something to penetrate the ground, it means the owner of the fangs had drilled through the iron wall layer over 10 meters thick underground. Rodents that can gnaw through iron walls are nothing unusual. The key is, they hadn't heard any noise during the lengthy conversation just now. That's the most terrifying part. Xia, Chen Yingyuan, and Li Xuanling on the opposite side, all three had serious expressions staring at the pair of fangs on the ground, not daring to blink. Wrestle, wrestle, wrestle. A golden rodent head about a dozen centimeters wide emerged from the ground, its two bean-sized blood-red eyes spinning a few times, sweeping glance at the three on either side, before its gaze turned directly towards the direction of the main building. Its eyes were filled with desire and greed. Clearly, something within the main building was attracting it strongly. Roars, roars, roar. Meanwhile, more and more cold beast roars came from the top of the main area. This time, not only Xia and Chen Yingyuan's expressions changed, but also Li Xuanling's face on the opposite side did. This is bad, frost wolves, snow manes and demon sheep all have come down the tunnels. Xia at this moment was full of horror. He had Yue Feng ignite the holy tripod firstly to suppress the dewdrop plague, and secondly, to dispel the white mist created by the white dew goo on the ground and disperse the cold beasts. He knew well that the holy tripod would attract cold beasts, but he didn't anticipate the attraction would be this strong. Rodents naturally live underground, skilled at digging, so being attracted isn't surprising, But the other cold beasts weren't supposed to live underground, yet they followed the tunnels down. Over 100 meters below ground, these advanced cold beasts could sense it. These are advanced cold beasts, just one or two is enough to handle. Listening to the commotion from the top, there are probably more than 10. The advanced cold beasts are all small in size. The main area's barriers have just been broken open by the rodents into many holes, each with a diameter of about 1 meter, more than enough for them to fit through. Moreover, as long as the holy tripod remains burning, all surrounding cold beasts will be drawn in, so the longer it burns, the more there will be. If they all come in, everyone will be doomed. The holy tripod must be extinguished quickly. No, there's another way. Suddenly, an idea flashed through Xia Chuan's mind. He looked back at the Longyu army camp behind Li Xuanling with a cold glint in his eyes. Chapter 753, Chapter 305, Twists and Turns, Severed Arm and Head, Forced Withdrawal. Chen Yingyuan Go quickly returned to the main building. Xia Chuan had lost the ability to move and could only walk with the support of Chen Yingyuan. As soon as he spoke, Chen Yingyuan immediately took him and ran towards the main building. Hiss! The rodent was 3 to 4 times faster than the two of them. It broke through the ground and transformed into a golden light, rushing towards the direction of the main building. Big Brother, mobilize the army, attack the main building directly, hurry. Chen Yingyuan hadn't gone far with Xia Chuan when he heard Li Xuanling's furious shout behind him. At the same time, a fierce sword sound came from behind, and Chen Yingyuan's expression changed dramatically. He immediately took Xia Chuan and fled frantically towards the main building. Both of you are severely injured, you were just pretending. You stalled for a long time just to delay time, trying to let people escape dreaming. Fortunately, Xia Chuan always maintained a controlled distance. Although Li Xuanling reacted quickly, she didn't catch up immediately. The two narrowly escaped into the army's encirclement outside the main building. Xia Chuan, the Longyu army has already arrived. Don't think about taking people and running away. Having pretended for a long time, Xia Chuan finally couldn't hold it in, turning with a pale face to stare at Li Xuanling. Seeing the Longyu army behind her quickly approaching, he scolded angrily, "Li Xuanling, can't you hear the sounds of those advanced cold beasts overhead? They're about to come in. If you withdraw the Longyu army now, there's still hope. If you continue dragging it out like this, everyone from both of our families will die." Li Xuanling stood at the periphery of the main building army, expression unmoved, looked at Xia Chuan and said lightly, "Those advanced cold beasts, weren't they all attracted by that holy tripod? If you have a way to deal with them, I won't let you go." After saying this, she paused and continued, "If the Longyu army perishes here today, don't think any of you can escape either. We'll all perish together. There are plenty of cold resistance level in Long Mountain. If those advanced cold beasts come in, at worst I'll just escape with them. And if all 20 cold resistance levels of the Great Xia die here in the end, we'll still drive you out of Longyu." Seeing Li Xuanling becoming more and more crazed, Xia Chuan's expression was also extremely conflicted. The Longyu army was already approaching, only 300 to 400 meters from the main building. If they engaged in battle now, then truly everyone was on a path to death. Bang! The advanced rodent that had just broken through the ground now climbed to the top level of the main building, obviously wanting to get close to the cold ruins tripod. Several injured cold resistance levels of the Great Xia were already engaging it. Before he came to Li Xuanling, he had instructed Yue Feng to open up the passage between the top of the main building and the ground. At this point, Yue Feng should have already led people through the passage to escape to the ground, but the Great Xia had about 6,000 people in total, making it impossible to get them out quickly. This was why he deliberately sought out Li Xuanling to stall for time. Realizing the advanced cold beasts had entered, his plan was not to extinguish the fire, so Li Xuanling would definitely lead the Longyu army out of the underground. When as many people from the Great Xia escaped as possible, he would extinguish the fire at the last moment. But who knew Li Xuanling would be so crazy, betting he had a way to handle the advanced cold beasts. Not only did she not withdraw, but even pressed forward with the army in advance. Extinguishing the fire of the holy tripod would cause the white Dugu to act. Not extinguishing, and the advanced cold beasts would soon enter. The problem was, whether or not he extinguished it, this madwoman Li Xuanling clearly didn't intend to let it go, determined to drag them to death here. At this moment, Xia Chuan wasn't stuck between a rock and a hard place, but rather that anything he did wouldn't work. Madwoman, madwoman, you madwoman, my big brother has long taken Long Mountain. Even if you fight us to the last here, what can you do? Taken Long Mountain. Ridiculous. Xia Hong's strength may be great, but only with him with your 1,000 cloud dragon army thinking to take Long Mountain. What a joke. A joke. 1,000 cloud dragon army of course can't take Long Mountain. But what if with the earth-digging realms of the 7 families of Zhejiang, Changning, Song Yuan, White Abyss, Dongyuan, Xiling and Yucheng? Suddenly, a voice that everyone was extremely familiar with came from the top of the main building. Yuan Dao is back. It's the voice of Yuan Sijang. They, Xia Chuan, Chen Yingyuan, Yuan Cheng, Qiu Peng, Lin Kai and others, all the cold resistance levels of the great Xia, including all the earth-digging realm below, instantly recognized who it was. Wearing black, bearing a broad sword, Yuan Dao held a strong bow. He first shot and knocked away the advanced rodent entangled with Yuan Cheng and the others, then took out a bundle from behind and tossed it into the air, pulling out an iron arrow and aiming it at a building directly in front of the Long Yu army, shooting it directly. Thud! The bundle opened in the air, a human head and a severed arm falling from it, the iron arrow hitting 2 targets accurately, nailing the head and severed arm to the top of that building. That head is Li Chuankong. Lord Chuankong, wasn't he stationed at Long Mountain? Didn't you hear? The great Xia leader led 1,000 cloud dragon army to attack Long Mountain. Whose severed arm is that? The severed arm and the head entered the vision of all the soldiers of the Long Yu army, and everyone immediately recognized the owner of that head. Many smarter soldiers had already noted what Yuan Dao had just said, and most soldiers focused their eyes on the severed arm. The severed arm was covered with a white sleeve with silver lines woven on it, clearly precious. Although stained with blood, the wrinkled skin still showed the owner was clearly very old. That's Father S. Fool, shut up. Before Li Chuanping could finish speaking, Li Chuanling interrupted angrily. However, the soldiers of Long Yu were not foolish either. Even without Li Chuanping's words, many had identified the owner of the severed arm through the white sleeve. That arm belongs to the Heavenly Ancestor. Heavenly Ancestor, his arm was cut off. Something happened at Long Mountain. Long Mountain was taken by Xia Hong and his men. How could 1,000 cloud dragon army possibly take Long Mountain? Didn't you hear? That man just said, the earth-digging realms of the 7 families of Zhejiang, Changning, Song Yuan, White Abyss, Dongyuan, Xiling and Yucheng are all supporting them. The iron stake wall of Long Mountain is indeed formidable, but it's a pity that the hearts of the people of Long Mountain aren't united. With the betrayal of the families of Changning, Song Yuan and Yucheng, and with internal assistance, the iron stake wall was breached in just one night. Li Tiancheng has already had an arm cut off by my leader. Of the 5 cold resistance levels left at your base, 1 has been beheaded and 3 severely injured. Right now, Li Tiancheng is using the lives of more than 10,000 people here to block my leader. Li Xuanling surrender. Long Mountain has already been defeated. From now on, Long Yu will be territory of the Great Xia. As the discussions among the Long Yu soldiers spread, Yuan Dao's voice timely echoed again from above the main building. Yuan Dao's words, together with Li Tiancheng's severed arm and Li Xuankong's head on the wall, instantly broke the morale of the Long Yu army soldiers. Our base was breached. Why are we still fighting here? Go back, hurry and return to Long Mountain. My family is still there. The families of Changning, Song Yuan and Yucheng were forcibly annexed after the leader's assassination. The earth-digging realms of these families already harbored resentment. With external support, rebellion is indeed possible. Return to Long Mountain. We can't stay here any longer. There are still 4 hours until dawn. There's still a chance to return, leader. Leader, the base must not be lost. Retreat. Not only did the soldiers start requesting a retreat and to return to aid Long Mountain, even several cold resistance levels nearby couldn't help but speak up. Li Xuanling clenched her fists tightly, turning to look at the great Xia's main building so close to the south side. Despite her face being full of struggle and reluctance, she finally released her fists and slowly spoke, "Retreat." After speaking, her expression immediately turned listless, as if saying those 2 words had already drained all the energy from her body. Chapter 754, Chapter 306, Rebel Collaborators, Chaos and Opportunism, Long Mountain changes hands. The 2nd year of Great Xia, the 6th day of the 7th month, at the stroke of midnight. The wind and snow cut like knives, the cold seeping into the earth. The Long Mountain garrison resounded with roars at this moment. The rebels have broken into the main building. Long Mountain will not retreat, brothers. Even in death we must hold back the Xia army. We can't let them break in. The leader's reinforcements will arrive soon. Long Mountain has fallen. Surrender and be spared. The Xia army is trying to disrupt our morale. Brothers, hold them off. On the eastern outer perimeter of the Long Mountain garrison, there are hundreds of five-cornered iron piles with an 8-meter length on each side. These iron piles extend from the ground, with just the parts exposed above ground standing 15 meters high. Each pile's interior is connected to a thick iron chain, evidently used to control its expansion and contraction underground. Hundreds of iron piles extend north and south from the mountainside, aligning to connect on the eastern outer perimeter, forming a fan-shaped iron stake wall 12 kilometers long, firmly guarding the Long Mountain garrison within. Regrettably, at this moment on the northern side, close to the mountainside, 2 iron piles failed to extend from the ground. On the left side of those 2, another iron pile emerged only halfway, with the exposed part bizarrely bending inward a great deal. Each 5-cornered iron pile measures 8 meters on one side, and with 3 piles failing to emerge from the ground, it equates to opening a 20-meter-wide breach in an otherwise impenetrable wall. Surrounding the gap in the iron piles, the ground is littered with corpses, an intense stench of blood almost forming a tangible mist in the air, causing the snowflakes falling from the sky to be stained red, further intensifying the piercing chill in this world. Evidently, this breach just inflicted a devastating blow to Long Mountain. A swarm of people had already charged through the gap. The entire Long Mountain garrison echoed with the sounds of slaughter and roars. Over 10,000 earth-digging realm fighters in civilian clothes with sharp weapons were frenziedly advancing toward the core main building of the garrison, while thousands of retreating Longshan garrison soldiers attempted to block their path. Despite more and more logging realm personnel and even ordinary people emerging around the main building to fight for their lives, they could not stop the retreat on Long Mountain's side. The attackers were getting closer to the main building, soon just less than 500 meters away. Moreover, voices continually shouted, "Surrender and be spared," from the attacking side, visibly eroding the Long Mountain defenders' morale. Many common people started fleeing into the garrison's housing units, and as signs of retreat appeared, they quickly spread among the crowd, accelerating in speed. In contrast to the raging battle cries within the garrison, the outer perimeter remained eerily quiet. Near a tall building close to the iron stake wall, several hundred soldiers clad in pale golden battle armor gathered. However, these individuals were not in the best condition. Most of their war armor was in tatters, more than half of them bore injuries, and dozens lay on the ground gasping heavily, clearly in critical condition. Yet despite this, their faces showed unparalleled excitement. They intermittently looked toward the Longshan main building, occasionally glancing at the top floor of the nearby tall building, their expressions filled with excitement, their pupils brimming with exhilaration. "We really breached it. We actually breached Long Mountain. It was the leader was too strong. Our insider couldn't initially succeed, but the leader managed to bend that iron pile directly, allowing us to enter smoothly and help the insider release the other 2 piles. Otherwise, the large army outside couldn't have come in." Indeed, the leader fought against overwhelming odds, severed Li Tiancheng's arm, killed Li Chuankong, and gravely injured 3 cold resistance-level opponents. If it weren't for the leader holding back Long Mountain's experts, how could Yuan Sijeng and others focus on leading us to storm the city? There was an insider in Long Mountain, I guessed it. Recently Hankyang saved so many people in Long Mountain and Zhejiang, yet how could the earth-digging realm of Changning, Song Yuan, and Yu Cheng suddenly defect and desert Long Mountain? I just heard that during the Long Yu conference in April, the leaders of these 3 houses were all killed by Long Mountain, and they were forcibly annexed by Long Mountain. Many loyalists were imprisoned in Long Mountain's dungeon. They were internally dissatisfied. Our insider quietly released them. After convincing this group, the more than 3,000 earth-digging realm fighters who had already surrendered from the other 3 houses quickly defected and joined us. They truly accomplished a great feat. Who is this insider? They're incredibly strong. 4 days ago, among the over 5,000 people Zhejiang brought to Long Mountain, more than 300 were prearranged by Lord Hu Jing, and there seemed to be a cold resistance level hidden among them. Not just this group, Long Mountain also had two, named Yang Zhang and Li Hu, who seemed important. That Li Hu was captured by Li Tiancheng, and Yang Zhang is now upstairs, just summoned by the leader. Such merits are tremendous, the leader might heavily reward him. With the defeat of Long Mountain, won't all of Longyu belong to our great Xia in the future? Ha ha ha, Long Mountain, mainly Long Mountain. The three resource regions of all Longyu, from now on, belong solely to our great Xia. Unlike the joyous enthusiasm of the Cloud Dragon army downstairs. Upstairs on the top floor, Liu Yuan and Peng Bo stood guard outside a chamber door, their expressions also excited but clearly suppressing their emotions, consistently maintaining silence, only occasionally glancing inside. Behind them stood Yang Zhang, his face incredibly anxious. Chapter 755. Chapter 306. Rebel Collaborators, Chaos and Opportunism. Long Mountain changes hands. Hu Zai has been captured by Li Tiancheng. Only the leader can save him. I must ask the leader to rescue him. After struggling to make it through, I can't let Hu Zai die. At this moment, Yang Zhang's mind was constantly repeating this sentence. Just like the discussion among the Cloud Dragon army soldiers below, the great Xia's victory over Long Mountain this time is almost irreplaceable, thanks to the roles played by him and Li Hu. 4 days ago, on the night of June 22, among the more than 5,000 men who came from Zhejiang, there was a cold resistance-level soldier named Liu Ying, who approached him and Li Hu and clarified Great Xia's plan to attack Long Mountain. At that time, Yang Zhang was extremely nervous, but thanks to Li Hu's bravery, he realized it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and seized it quickly. With Liu Ying's cooperation of more than 300 men, they first infiltrated the dungeon, met the loyal prisoners of the Changning, Song Yuan and Yucheng families, and successfully communicated with these people in advance. Then, later, in the first half of the night today, when Great Xia began attacking from the eastern front to create chaos in the camp, they released the people in the dungeon. Once these individuals successfully incited most of the Earth-Digging Realm members from the three families, Li Hu led them directly to the north side, and according to the pre-established plan, opened the North Iron Stake Wall to let the Xia army in. The Xia army's frontal direction was a feigned attack tonight. The elite Cloud Dragon army had been stationed outside the north side, and seeing movement inside, they immediately charged in. Things certainly weren't that smooth. As soon as their large forces moved, before they could lower the two northern iron stakes by a few meters, they were discovered by Li Tiancheng. Fortunately, Xia Hong acted in time. Even though more than an hour has passed, as Yang Zhang recalls Xia Hong's kick that bent the five-cornered iron pile, he couldn't help but swallow, his pupils full of shock and admiration. His only worry now is Li Hu, who was captured by Li Tiancheng while they were opening the door for the Xia army. They have accomplished such a great feat and have finally made it through, seeing the prospect of going to Great Xia for a better life. He absolutely cannot let anything happen to Li Hu. The leader summoned me, surely to reward me with something. I don't want anything, just ask him to save Li Hu. The leader will surely agree. He was with the 7 families, Earth-Digging Realm on the battlefield, and received a notification from Peng Bo, stating Xia Hong wanted to see him, so he was waiting here. Just now, Xia Hong chopped off one of Li Tiancheng's arms, repelled the cold resistance levels from Long Mountain, and let the outer armies from Zhejiang, White Abyss, Xiling and Dongkeng rush into the base to join forces with the 3 families' rebels before directly entering this tall building, and hasn't come out since. The Cloud Dragon army should be resting below now, including guarding Xia Hong for cultivation, as they played the biggest role in just breaking through the Longyu iron wall, with significant casualties. Currently, the tens of thousands of troops on the battlefield are commanded by Hu Jing, Chen Yingyuan, and other cold resistance levels. Although the battle hasn't ended, the result is pretty much determined. Despite worrying about Li Hu's safety, Yang Zhang didn't dare to breathe heavily now because he could feel that Xia Hong inside was probably in secluded cultivation, reaching some critical moment. Hu. Even through the wall from Xia Hong's increasingly distant and lengthy breathing sound, he could sense his immense aura, and as the breathing sound grew longer, that aura was constantly rising, constantly expanding. Too strong, I've already broken through the 30,000 Jin limit, yet in front of this aura it's still like being a child. The leader's strength ultimately. Who? The breathing sounds in the room suddenly diminished. Yang Zhang sharply looked up, only to find Liu Yuan and Peng Bo in front already looked up before him, staring into the room. The leader must have finished cultivating. Yang Zhang, right? You and Li Hu did well this time. When we return to Xia City, I'll heavily reward both of you. Hearing Xia Hong's voice from inside, Yang Zhang immediately bowed and knelt, speaking with a worried look. Yang Zhang doesn't want any rewards, just asks the leader to rescue my brother Li Hu. Not to hide from the leader, releasing everyone in the dungeon and inciting the Yucheng families were all Li Hu's ideas. I was just assisting him. Who? Just as a stream of air hit his face, with his head down on the ground, Yang Zhang noticed a pair of pitch-black beast skin boots in front of him. Realizing Xia Hong was standing before him, he pressed his head lower. Xia Hong, who had just walked out of the room, hadn't fully calmed his excitement. After slightly calming down, he looked down at Yang Zhang lying on the ground, with a hint of appreciation in his eyes, lightly raised his hand, signaling. Rise, rest assured Li Tiancheng won't kill him. You all are great contributors. When we return to Xia City, I will evaluate and reward you two together. Although Yang Zhang was somewhat puzzled, he still obeyed the order and lifted his head. When he saw Xia Hong close up, his admiration and fervor almost overflowed from his eyes. He couldn't help but bow his head in a respectful greeting to Xia Hong. Subordinate thanks the leader. Anyone who has witnessed Xia Hong's strength firsthand would find it hard not to show expression similar to Yang Zhang's. Just like Liu Yuan, who was already very familiar with Xia Hong, including the much older Peng Bo, was also eager. Xia Hong at this moment didn't have the mood to look at the expressions on Liu Yuan and the others' faces. Seeing through the window that the Western Army had already reached below the main building, the excitement he had just calmed down began to rise again. They actually broke through Long Mountain. Chapter 756, Chapter 306, Rebel Collaborators, Chaos and Opportunism, Long Mountain changes hands. Xia Hong's expedition to the north never intended to capture Long Mountain in one go from the start. His sole purpose was to besiege Long Mountain to force Li Xuanling to withdraw his troops. By inserting more than 300 insiders among Hu Jing's over 5,000 men in Zhejiang, the initial plan was merely to create a small issue in Longshan City's defenses. Who would have thought that Li Hu and Yang Zhang were so clever, managing to incite defectors among the earth-digging realm from Yucheng, Changning, and Song Yuan? The situation of shifting loyalties in Long Mountain is truly terrifying. Compared to 300 insiders, the impact of more than 3,000 rebels is worlds apart. Xia Hong originally planned to attack Long Mountain on the evening of the 5th day, but after learning there might be 3,000 rebels, he changed his mind, granting Li Yang and others an extra day. Amazingly, it really worked. Long Mountain was destroyed directly. I thought we'd be fighting with Long Mountain for a few more years, but plans can't keep up with changes. Since Long Mountain's morale crumbled so quickly, I need to change strategies from here on. After pausing for a moment, Xia Hong turned to ask Liu Yuan, how long has Yuan Dao been gone? A little over an hour. At his speed, he should have reached the beehive by now. He took both the severed arm and the head over. If nothing unexpected happens, Li Xuanling should have withdrawn his troops already. I'm just not sure how heavy the casualties are on the minister's side. Hearing Liu Yuan's response, Xia Hong's expression slightly tensed. He knew the difficulty of 9,500 earth-digging realm, defending against the 3,000 Longyu army. It's fine if the iron wall of the beehive hasn't been breached, but once it has, losing the barrier won't yield favorable results, especially with Li Xuanxiang present. Even though Cold Ruin's tripod was left for Xia Chuan, Xia Hong was not entirely confident. Although the Cold Ruin's tripod can deal with the eerie entities, it is too tempting for cold beasts. Of the 10 wooden mannequins, they can only exhibit intermediate cold beast strength so far. Once ignited in the beehive, it will be hard to control. Xia Hong took a slight breath and looked toward the west, furrowing his brow. The battle toward the western main building continued, with Hu Jing and other cold resistance-level individuals rapidly approaching. But the massive army of over 10,000 earth-digging realms stayed at a distance of about 400 meters, apparently blocked by the Longshan garrison. Moreover, with more people from Long Mountain charging below the main building, the army showed signs of retreating. Liu Yuan glanced in the direction Xia Hong was looking, immediately understanding why he furrowed his brow, and softly spoke, "Leader, there are too many people in Long Mountain. Even if you exclude the 3 families that have already defected, There are still over 70,000 staunch followers of Long Mountain, including many in the earth-digging realm. Up to now there is estimated to be over 8,000. Indeed, Long Mountain is a huge powerhouse. Xia Hong shook his head with a slight sigh, considering that after breaching the iron wall, they had at least killed 3,000 to 4,000 earth-digging realm. Long Mountain still has over 8,000 remaining. In other words, without those 3,000 rebels, the earth-digging realm originally garrisoning Long Mountain would have numbered over 15,000. This earth-digging realm population is truly enviable. Even the great Xia might not have this amount. Leader, I still have more than 600 active soldiers in the Cloud Dragon army. Let me lead them up and cooperate with Hu Jing's 10,000 to break through the main building. It shouldn't be difficult. Seeing no progress on the western battlefield, Liu Yuan couldn't help but directly offer his service. However, Xia Hong rejected him outright without a second thought, gesturing, Long Mountain has already lost, we don't need you. In the battles of White Abyss and Xiling combined with tonight's siege, the Cloud Dragon army has already lost over 300 men. Such resources cannot be squandered further. Stay here and rest with them. Peng Bo will come with me, and you too. Although Liu Yuan was somewhat disappointed, he knew Xia Hong's words were true and could only nod, watching Xia Hong, Peng Bo, and the eventually named Yang Zhang leave. Leader, salute the leader. Salute the leader. As Xia Hong descended the stairs, he saw many recuperating Cloud Dragon army soldiers who stood and saluted him, to which he immediately waved them to relax, smiling. All of you stay lying down and take care of your wounds. No need to get up. The Cloud Dragon army deserves the greatest credit for capturing Long Mountain this time. Just wait to go back to Xia City for rewards. Upon hearing this, the Cloud Dragon army soldiers became visibly excited. This time, for taking Long Mountain, the Cloud Dragon army truly deserves the foremost credit. Hearing such a statement personally from Xia Hong lent its substantial weight. Contribution value, martial arts hall, Dan medicine, weapons, supplies, cultivation resources. All the soldiers fell into a reverie. Without disturbing them further, Xia Hong continued toward the west battlefield, noticing Yang Zhang behind him, always looking worried. He immediately smiled and said, So, do you not believe me when I say Li Tiancheng won't kill Li Hu? Yang Zhang was momentarily taken aback, hesitated for a moment, but then nodded with a hint of confusion. Leader's words, I dare not disbelieve, but Li Xuanling's 3,000 Longyu army can't cause much trouble. The Longshan Li family will soon become history. Li Tiancheng won't let the Li family end with no heirs. Won't let the Li family end with no heirs. Yang Zhang pondered for a moment, trembling slightly with understanding. Where is the leader's army? Why haven't they returned to aid? Only over 300 meters left from the main building. The Xia army is about to charge over. There is hope. We have tens of thousands here. Hu Jing can't break through. What hope? That golden armor army from Great Xia hasn't moved yet. They've been resting and watching at the back. Once they attack, we're finished. Chapter 757. Chapter 306. Rebel collaborators, chaos and opportunism. Long Mountain changes hands. Go notify the leader. Have him quickly bring the main forces back to defend the base. Traitors, traitors, traitors. Those damn traitors from the Yucheng three families. They should have been exterminated long ago. Should have killed them all long ago. I told the leader from the beginning these three families are not trustworthy. Just imprisoning a few high-ranking ones is useless. As soon as those in the dungeon were persuaded, they all turned. Over 3,000 people all went over to Great Xia's side. It's over. Li Hu, you wretched beast, bearing the blood of my Li family, yet colluding with outsiders, causing so many deaths now. I'll kill you. I must kill you, It was Li Hu who led people to the dungeon and released the high-ranking members of the three families. It was him. I said, how could the Xia army be so familiar with our Long Mountain base environment, charging towards the main building along the mountain as soon as they attacked from the north? None of the defensive setups in the building area worked. The traitor, it was Li Hu and Yang Zhang, these two traitors who revealed the base details to the Xia army. I'll skin you alive, Li Hu, you beast. The top floor of the main building, the Long Mountain Council Hall, was crowded with hundreds of people. Unlike the usual grand spectacle, at this moment the hundreds of people's faces were either filled with fear or desolation, devoid of any of the former dominant style of Longyu. After a series of desperate and fearful roars, several Long Mountain members raised their broadswords and charged toward Li Hu, who was tied to a pillar at the front. Li Hu's upper body was stained red with blood despite being injured. There wasn't a trace of pain on his face. Instead, he looked at the crowd clamoring to kill him and let out a tremendously satisfying laugh. Everyone shut up. The whole hall was in chaos, accompanied by the sound of slaughter outside the main building, reaching an extreme level of noise, until the pale-faced Li Tiancheng shouted angrily, halting the charging members of the Li family in their tracks, finally bringing silence to the hall. Yet the quieter it got, the clearer the battle sounds from the east side of the main building became. The fear on many faces grew stronger, with some women and younger, timid members beginning to tremble. Li Tiancheng had already lost his left arm. He swung his empty sleeve and, lowering his gaze at the tied-up Li Hu, asked in a low voice, "Was it you who informed the Xia army about the ambush at Changbai Gully?" "Of course it was me. The new army formed in June. 800 sets of 100 forged armor, with White Abyss as the destination, given to Xia Hong. It was all me who told the Xia army." Li Hu directly met Li Tiancheng's eyes without any avoidance. Li Tiancheng closed his eyes, his expression immediately filled with extreme anguish. "You are also a son of Long Mountain. The blood of the Li family flows through your veins." "Shut up, old thing. I have never been a son of the Li family. I took my mother Li Yuning's surname. The blood that flows through me is the blood of the Zheayuan Li family. With your Long Mountain Li family, I have nothing but the enmity of a mother-killer, nothing more to do with you." Li Tiancheng hadn't finished speaking before he was interrupted by Li Hu. Seeing the deep-seated hatred in Li Hu's eyes, the amount of wrinkles on Li Tiancheng's already aged face increased noticeably, and he seemed to wilt further. There weren't many people in Long Mountain, and Li Hu's background, along with the injustices he suffered, were things Li Tiancheng had long been aware of. However, there were many members of the Li family, and within them, Li Hu didn't stand out with his talent, coupled with his stepmother Zhu Ru being the daughter of the cold resistance-level outsider Zhu Xing, so even knowing it, he found it hard to intervene. His initial thought was that the trials Li Hu suffered would instead make him more accomplished than the other pampered members of the Li family. Now it seems, indeed, he has become accomplished, but it is great Xia's accomplishment. As Li Tiancheng closed his eyes and pondered, a woman wielding a sword emerged from behind and directly charged at Li Hu. "You little beast, I've long said this ungrateful wolf couldn't be raised properly, should have listened to me from the start and killed him. Now not only is my son captured by great Xia, but such a catastrophe has occurred, let me kill him. The woman charging out happened to be Li Hu's stepmother, Zhu Ru. The ambush at Changbai Gully resulted in Li Yuanqing being captured by great Xia. Zhu Ru had been brooding over it, and upon suddenly learning her son was harmed by Li Hu, her rage was understandable, as she rushed to kill Li Hu. Li Tiancheng first glanced at Zhu Ru, then noticed the deeply ingrained hatred in Li Hu's eyes when he looked at her. He sighed softly, his gaze suddenly sharp as he picked up a short sword from the table, hurling it fiercely at Zhu Ru. Clang! The short sword was struck down by a broadsword. It was a middle-aged man with a face somewhat resembling Zhu Ru. "Uncle Tiancheng, why did you attack my daughter without reason?" Zhu Xing's mouth had split open. Evidently knocking down Li Tiancheng's short sword was no easy feat for him. He looked at Li Tiancheng, spoke in a low voice, his tone carrying a very obvious questioning tone. Everything happened too quickly. The people in the hall all looked bewildered, clearly unable to react. Why did Li Tiancheng want to kill Zhu Ru suddenly? Zhu Xing actually dared to intercept Li Tiancheng's short sword. Among the crowd, only Li Hu, still bound to the pillar, turned his head to look at Li Tiancheng. His expression froze slightly, as if he had realized something, showing a complex emotion in his eyes. "Wrongs have their source, debts their master, Zhu Xing. With the fall of Long Mountain today, your daughter cannot escape blame. So many died and wounded in the camp, she must atone with her life." Zhu Xing's face darkened, seemingly unwilling to disguise any longer. He pointed directly at Li Hu and coldly laughed. "If I remember correctly, that other traitor, Yang Zhang, is your biological grandson, isn't he? Your Li family is unlucky, producing these two little beasts who let wolves into the home. Instead of dealing with them, you want to kill my daughter. Wrongs have their source, debts their master." Chapter 758. Chapter 306. Rebel Collaborators, Chaos and Opportunism. Long Mountain changes hands. Li Tiancheng, Do you really think us outsiders are the Li family's dogs? With the final rhetorical question, Zhu Xing shouted it out in anger. Zhu Xing, you are bold. How dare you speak to Grandpa like that? Zhu Xing, what do you want to do? In the hall, the Li family's disciples started to voice their condemnation. Yet their momentum was clearly not that strong. In the hall, besides a few Li family disciples standing on Li Tianqing's side, most of them directly stood behind Zhu Xing, while many others remained silent, not saying a word. Faced with this subtle scene, Li Tianqing seemed unsurprised. He looked up directly at Zhu Xing and lightly smiled, asking, Zhu Xing, it seems you have your own plans. Earlier, when the iron stake wall was breached, Hu immediately ran away with his men. Of the 5 cold resistance level from Long Mountain, Xia Hong killed 1, severely injured 3, leaving only 1, Zhu Xing. Having lost an arm himself, and now wanting to kill Zhu Xing's early planning seemed reasonable. When Zhu Xing's thoughts were exposed, there wasn't a hint of embarrassment on his face. Looking at Li Tianqing, he calmly said, Uncle Tianqing, Li family's downfall is already set in stone. We outsiders, after all, are only switching masters, naturally won't accompany your Li family to die. Hearing Zhu Xing's words piercing their hearts, the Li family's disciples angrily rebuked. Zhu Xing, you beast. Wretched beast, Zhu Xing, when the leader returns with the army, he will surely kill you. Zhu, your second prince's woman, yet you betrayed Long Mountain. How lively everyone. However, their rebukes were quickly interrupted by a soft laugh. Upon hearing this laugh, everyone's expressions in the hall suddenly froze, including Li Tianqing at the higher seat, as well as many Li family disciples in front of him. They were all too familiar with this voice. Last night at the beginning of the siege, this very voice rang out, and within less than 3 moments, an iron stake on the north side was forcibly bent from the outside. Step, step, step. A sound of footsteps came from the back of the main hall's door, causing everyone to turn their heads and look, seeing the black figure standing at the entrance tremble in unison. At the entrance of the main hall, Xia Hong in black attire slowly approached, with 2 equally long slender sabers hanging at his waist. Even with a light smile and doing nothing at all, he made the hundreds of people in the hall dare not breathe heavily. Those blocking in front of Xia Hong all retreated to the sides, making way for a straight path to the back of the main hall. Isn't the fight still ongoing outside? The main building hasn't been breached. How did Xia Hong get in? Puzzlement sprouted in everyone's mind. Walking unconcernedly to the back of the main hall, Xia Hong raised his head to look at Li Tianqing above, slightly cupping his hand as he prepared to speak, but was interrupted by Zhu Xing next to him. Bang! Greetings, Leader Xia. Zhu Xing wishes to bring family and friends to abandon darkness for light, to join Great Xia, and hopes Leader Xia will generously accept. Zhu Xing directly knelt down. The people beside him, Zhu, and over 100 people behind him, all knelt towards Xia Hong. Witnessing this scene, the Li family's disciples were full of anger on their faces, with a few struggling to hold back words of anger but were held by the people beside them. Li Tianqing up on the high platform said nothing, merely watched silently. Yet it was Li Hu, bound to the pillar, who at this moment clenched his fist, silently closed his eyes, and a flash of pain evidently crossed his face. If Zhu Xing joins Great Xia, how could he avenge Zhu? A cold resistance level, more valuable than him and Yang Zhang combined. Xia Hong's choice was inevitable, needing no thought. Kneeling Zhu clearly realized this point also, as she looked up at Li Hu with evident smugness on her face. Swoosh! Just that delighting expression on her face froze instantly as a blade's edge rang out. A hot stream splattered against her face. It was her father Zhu Xing, kneeling beside her, whose head was directly beheaded by Xia Hong. A meter-high blood spout directly sprayed from the neck, covering her face, and this was the source of that hot stream. "Ah, father!" Everyone's expression turned dumbfounded. No one reacted as Xia Hong suddenly killed Zhu Xing, who was surrendering to him. The entire hall fell into deadly silence, except for Zhu's wretched wailing. I don't like people who act as dogs, and a 6 main cold resistance level, in my eyes, is no different from ordinary people, wanting to rely on cultivation to save life, too naive. Xia Hong casually spoke, then directly cut the rope binding Li Hu, handing over the dragon sparrow saber, which was previously severed by Li Chuanling to him. Go have your vengeance. From the moment Xia Hong killed Zhu Xing, emotions overwhelmed Li Hu's expression, and upon hearing Xia Hong's words now, seizing the given dragon sparrow saber, his body trembled uncontrollably, unable to restrain his inner feelings, directly kneeling before Xia Hong, his voice shaky as he said, "Leader, for your great grace and virtue, I have nothing to repay. Li Hu from now on, alive as great Xia person, dead as great Xia's ghost, through trial by sword or fire, even if leader calls for my death now, Li Hu won't even flinch." This seemed like a one-sided promise, and after saying it, Li Hu didn't even wait for Xia Hong's response, knocking his head 3 times firmly, then stood up, rushing toward Zhu Ru. "Don't kill me, don't kill me. I am your mother, Li Hu, I am your mother. You can't kill me, don't." Zhu Ru not only begged for mercy, she even attempted to retreat and escape. Yet unfortunately, without needing Xia Hong to speak, several keen-eyed individuals among those who initially intended to surrender with Zhu Xing quickly stepped out, controlling her.